Testing, 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 testing. Hello. Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong, welcome. Welcome to the first of its kind Half-Life live stream. No, hold on. I wanna try something. Okay. I'm trying to mute the game audio and my audio so I don't hear myself. I might just have to deal with it, to be honest. Testing. Playing Fortnite right now. You're playing Fortnite? No way. I'm about to play Half-Life 2. This little thing right here. Oh man. Because I've already played Half-Life. Okay. So maybe let me put my phone right here so I can see the chat. I can have it on the screen, but I don't know how to do it. Okay. Yeah, no, we'll play Half-Life 2 with the developer's commentary on. There we go. Yeah. Start it. New game. Yeah. This is perfect. You know what? You deserve a
rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine. Not that I wish to imply you have been sleeping on the job. No one is more deserving of a rest, and all the effort in the world would have gone to waste until, well, let's just say your hour has come again.
He still looks good. For today's standards, he looks great.
The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world. So wake up, Mr. Freeman. Wake up and smell the ashes.
Donkey Kong, I'm actually so happy that you managed to catch the strings. I didn't know if we were gonna see it. I don't know how that works. Oh man, hold on, let me turn off the mouse. That's good. Half-Life, guys. Playing half. Whoa. Wait.
End of the line.
I'm Gabe Newell, and welcome back to Half-Life 2. It's been a long 20 years since its release. In this anniversary update, we've tried to respond to as many of the community's requests as possible. And while this might not be the absolute #1 request from fans, I often hear how much people would like a commentary mode, so we're excited to finally make that happen. Not only was it a challenge to remember many of the details of Half-Life 2's development, but it's not easy to crack open decades-old computer code and wonder what the hell you were thinking way back then. Along with the dev commentary, we've cleaned up a bunch of old bugs and tried to leave things in better shape than we found them. And at least this time, we had the luxury of knowing how things turned out in the end. To listen to a commentary node, put your crosshair over the floating commentary symbol and press your use key. To stop a commentary node, put your crosshair over the rotating node and press the use key again. And please, let me know what you think. You can reach me at Gabe N at valvesoftware.com.
Did he?
Thanks,
Okay.
and have fun.
He didn't have to enunciate it so much. At Gabe N. Peak Life 2. You're so right, actually. You're so right.
To City 17.
There's so many more. Hold
Physics
on.
objects. It might be hard to remember it now, but back when Half-Life 2 came out, small objects in games, like these bits of trash, were usually static. As in, they didn't really move, or if they did, it was in a very simple way. If you were lucky, they might break apart into some sprites if you hit them. One of the goals for this initial train station section was to really make it clear to players that these kinds of things were properly, physically, actually being simulated in Half-Life 2. They could be picked up, dropped, thrown, broken, moved by other forces, you name it. Here we're starting with just a small thing, showing that trash is being blown by the arrival of the train, or, more specifically, an invisible volume that's triggered by the player leaving the train.
True. Okay, that's true. Okay, I never picked up that this is like the train wind. It's not just regular plain old wind. Special train wind.
Train station. The beginning of a Half-Life game has a big job to do. We have to introduce players to a new world while teaching them how to interact with it. Players need to quickly grasp what's happening, who the key players are, what threats they face, and how they fit into it all. Above all else, it has to be as fun and interactive as possible. Nailing this takes a lot of iteration and playtesting, especially on the small moments that make up a bigger picture of the game. In this section, we'll highlight some key moments, game design problems, and a few playtests where things didn't quite go as planned.
You are here to stay or passing through on your way to parts unknown? Welcome to City 17.
Go City 17.
It's safer.
I really wonder what bug fixes they're talking about.
MetroCop shoving citizens. We've only walked a few feet and we're already got problems to solve. We're introducing the MetroCop, an enemy that eventually we're going to ask players to kill, and giving you a glimpse of the world they're stepping into. It's a simple, clear moment that shows the relationships between the MetroCops and citizens, and by extension, the player. At the same time, we decided to reinforce the existence of the core physics simulation, showing the way in which NPCs can casually interact with objects in the world. Seeing something like a suitcase knock into another and dislodge was pretty novel back then. These moments at the train station, where we combined multiple goals, were the most successful. They felt natural, like the game wasn't pausing just to teach you a lesson.
Provided by our benefactors. I've been proud to
beauties of
Sweeping
this
Vortigons.
game.
Another key moment of storytelling, and another nod to the physics system. Here, we're showing how Vortigons fit into this new world, which is a big shift from their Half-Life 1 role as enemies. Like so many moments in Train Station, the Sweeping Vortigon came from our constant hunt for ways to show characters interacting naturally with the physics system. Why just tell players Vortigons are friendly now, when you can show one casually sweeping the floor and knocking around some simulated objects? Nothing signals, hey, don't shoot me this time around, like someone willing to tidy up.
Okay.
Welcome.
The phone
Welcome
is
to
ringing.
City 17.
The
You have
phone.
chosen
Hey.
or been chosen to relocate to one of our finest remaining urban centers. I thought so much of City 17 that I was selected to establish my administration here in the Citadel.
Were you
so
the only
far
ones on that train?
Okay,
provided
one
by
more.
Citizens.
What does he say?
When it came time to design the human
citizens.
citizens of City 17 and the world outside the city, we chose to include a variety of races, ages, and genders. This not only provided narrative context for the Combine's enslavement of all of humanity, but it was also important to us that anyone playing the game could see themselves represented in the Resistance, with everyone on Earth united against the Combine. While we found a number of candidates to use as reference in creating these citizens through our daily lives and connections, we ultimately resorted to
Not for
advertising
Fortnite.
in the Seattle Times
You saw the
classifieds
Vic Roy going
to reach
on.
the desired range of faces that we'd
If you're
envisioned.
winning, you know, if you're in the middle of a match and winning, you don't have to chat.
Welcome. Welcome to City 17. You have chosen
Natural storytelling. To achieve our world building and storytelling goals throughout the train station, We needed a natural way to deliver dialogue without it feeling too gamey or requiring tutorials. We noticed players often approached NPCs to get a closer look, so we turned that into an opportunity for the NPCs to acknowledge the player and deliver their lines. This kept interactions low-key,
I quit that
which was
game.
essential since the
Sucks.
citizens aren't exactly too cheerful
You're right.
or lively.
Even though I still play it every
The simplicity
now
of this approach also aligned with one of Half-Life's core storytelling goals, making the narrative responsive to the player's interest. Some players want to dig into every
Early tech planning.
I didn't mean to do that.
Shipping a game always teaches us a lot. We finally get to find out which choices we made were good ones, and which were ones we should do differently next time. So after Half-Life 1, when we sat down to start thinking about what kind of sequel we could build, we had all kinds of player feedback to digest. From it, we tried to build a master list of things that Half-Life 2 was going to focus on. We didn't try to design a specific player experience. Instead, we found it more useful to approach the question from a technological standpoint. Black Mesa's security guards and scientists had worked well. What could we do if we pushed it really, really hard on characters? We liked our interactive storytelling. What could we build that would allow us to do even more of it, and a greater variety? The exploration and interaction with the Black Mesa was compelling to players. Maybe a physics system would allow us to take that further. In all these areas, we tried to imagine the best version of it could look like years in the future, and back solve from that a set of technological steps that might get us there.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
storytelling.
Nice.
Creating a sense of immersion was a core principle in our approach to Half-Life 1's storytelling, and it led us to the self-imposed constraints of never, or at least very rarely, taking control away from the player and of keeping the player's avatar silent.
Okay, true.
These limitations made storytelling more challenging at times, but we felt it was important to stay with them for Half-Life 2. Our hope was that by maintaining these principles, we'd push ourselves to explore deeper, more interactive storytelling.
I thought so much of City 17 that I
You know, I'm glad they did it.
my
glad they did it.
administration here in the citadel
Starting
so
Half-Life
thoughtfully
1
provided
or
by
2,
our
from
benefit.
beginning to end, no
I've
cutscenes,
been proud to call
was the best
City
thing
17 my home.
my little cod brain
And
had
so,
ever seen.
whether you are here to stay or passing through
Hey.
on your way to parts unknown,
Come on now.
City 17.
Oh.
This must be a mistake. I got a standard relocation coupon just like everybody
else. Oh. Oh, why did you do that?
Characters. In Half-Life
Let
1,
me, hold on, before I do that. HUD aspect ratio. Unlocked. I'll leave it unlocked. I'm trying to turn on subtitles. Okay, there we go. Audio spoken language captioning. Subtitles. There we go.
security guards and
Let me see, okay,
characters. In Half-Life 1, security guards and scientists could best be described as archetypes, not individuals. They were abstractions of characters that matched the visual fidelity we could achieve at the time. But as our technology improved with Half-Life 2, we saw an opportunity to move beyond abstractions. The increased visual fidelity of the character models, combined with improvements in animation, made us believe we could focus on creating individual characters, people you would actually care about. We allowed ourselves to write real dialogue and have characters deliver it in a way that felt realistic enough for players to not think about them as pawns in a video game, and hopefully propel our narrative forward. In 2001, a couple of years into development, we were energized by Japan Studios' Ico. Directed by an animator, it blew us away with its reliance on characters as the key connection to the player, giving us the courage to keep pushing forward.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
Barney,
Team Eco.
I'm in the middle of a critical test. Sorry, Doc, but look who's here.
Flipping
Great
Scott.
Gordon Freeman. I expected more warning.
Yeah, you and me both, Doc. He was about to board the express to Nova Prospect.
Well, Barney, what do you intend?
I'm thinking.
Did you see that? Did you see that? Come on. Check it out. In case you're looking. The double bounce.
Oh, as long as he stays away from
Okay,
checkpoints, we should be
let's
okay. Listen, I gotta go, Doc. We're taking enough chances as it is.
You just missed it, okay?
And, Gordon,
Literally,
good to see you.
the book bounced.
Okay, Gordon.
Double.
You're gonna have to make your own way to Dr. Kleiner's lab.
Oh my god.
Man, that's what I was afraid of. Get in here, Gordon, before you blow my cover.
Blocking tutorials.
Uh-huh.
At times, we need to be certain the player has learned something, and the standard method, at least in game development, not in life, is to trap them behind a gate of some kind, where the player must demonstrate their knowledge to be able to continue. We try to disguise these gates as something natural, so it doesn't feel like the game has come to a halt. Of course, time, resources, or the environmental context itself can make that tricky. In this case, we needed to teach the players how to move objects, so a simple stacking puzzle seemed like the best solution. We tested more complex
Stacking
designs,
puzzle,
but they
huh?
ended up
It's a
being less
puzzle.
effective at teaching the actual thing we needed the player to learn.
Fair enough. I don't think I had any issues here the first time I passed through.
Blocking tutorials 2. There are 2 failures of note in this tutorial. First, players can break it by tossing all the boxes out the window, which is obviously not great. This leaves them stuck and unable to continue, which we consider a game-stopping bug that must be fixed. A clean solution would have been to tweak the window or crate sizes so that the player could fit through but not the crates. The problem was that we really only caught this problem late in development, and making even a simple change like that can have unpredictable game-breaking consequences, and right before launch no less. Also, this issue was purely theoretical. We'd never actually seen players do it. Our playtest of the design space had gone smoothly, with players learning what they needed and moving on. So changing the room's design this late in the game could have disrupted that success in ways that we couldn't foresee, so we opted for a more conservative fix rather than something elegant. If you're curious, try tossing all the boxes out the window and see what happens.
True. Flipping true. Try tossing off the boxes. No way. How did I not think of that? I feel like I'm playing Portal. I'm gonna throw this and then another cube's gonna fall out the chute. Okay, you know, I'm going to this test. Let me see what this guy has to say.
Blocking tutorials 3. The second failure in this tutorial space is a case of misteaching, where we accidentally teach the players something we didn't intend. This can be hard to avoid without extensive playtesting, since the game is always teaching, even when it's not by design. We cover a more extreme example of this later in Train Station. Some cases of misteaching are critical to fix, like if the player learns the wrong way to use a weapon or interact with a common element of the game. But this one was more subtle. While teaching players to move objects, we also taught them to stack physics objects to escape a space. Normally that's fine, except we don't deploy that puzzle later in the game, and teaching something irrelevant just clutters up their mental toolkit and makes it harder to readily keep useful things in mind later on.
So true.
Worse, stacking objects to escape the play space become a problem later on, something we had to actively prevent in multiple areas. With so many physics-based objects in the game, blocking this behavior without putting ceilings everywhere wasn't really an option. In the end, we hoped players wouldn't overthink this early lesson, and when playtests showed players getting stuck later on, we made sure not to remind them of it.
Interesting. Make sure not to remind them of it. I wonder what that entails. Okay, hold on. This is actually embarrassing. There we go.
Fall damage. Teaching players how to do things is an essential thing for the game to do. But for them to make confident decisions, they also need to understand the more subtle rules. This small moment covers 2 of those. First, it shows how far the player can fall without taking damage. Second, it introduces a bit of the game's vocabulary, how the game will communicate with them. Players often worry about taking fall damage, but they also worry about taking a step that they can't take back. So here, a welcoming crate to land on signals that dropping down is safe and it's the way forward. And when the crate breaks, it reinforces the physics simulation, and is likely the first time players will see that larger objects can be broken apart.
Okay, hold on. I heard that this lock right here is like super breakable. Hello? How did the dude do it? He broke it in like an instant. Can I take a piss? You can make it last forever, ever, ever. How did you? I saw this guy Shonik, I think, or Pinflash. He broke this like easy time. Oh wait, and it's dark back here. I swear it was really dark. Maybe I'm tripping out. Okay. One more time. One more time. Come on. Come on. Break it. Break. Whatever.
Pick up that can. Contextualizing tutorials, creating a story scenario in which they happen, lets us do more than just stop the game to teach players something. We get to add narrative value to the moment. Here, teaching the player how to throw objects is combined with a narrative setup that gives them a choice in how to respond. After watching the Metro Cops casually abuse citizens, it felt right to put the player in a similar position next.
True.
If they had opinions on how the citizens should have reacted, now they get to express them. Playtesting showed most players either complied or refused the request to pick up the can, but some tried to avoid the confrontation entirely. Others would comply initially, then retaliate after feeling humiliated. By keeping the moment relatively constrained in both terms of player actions and the space itself, we could generally react appropriately to whatever choice they made.
Huh. Where's the can?
Playtesting. Playtesting is a core part of how we make games. We can never fully predict how players will respond or what they'll take away from what we built. So we test to learn and hopefully improve. During a playtest, we don't guide or talk to the player, even if they're stuck, as it's extremely unlikely that we'll be sitting there next to the player once the game ships. Our goal is for testers to forget that they're playtesting altogether and play as if they're at home. Any interruptions risk skewing the data, so we only step in if there's a bug that's blocking progress, or more rarely, if their behavior is so confusing that we need to understand what they're thinking.
Wow. I can't imagine. You're working with someone so dumb. Or confusing, I should say. Maybe not dumb.
Early in a Half-Life game, one of our goals is to make promises to the player, giving them a sense of what to expect later on. From movies to TV shows and books, all great entertainment does this in some way, and video games are no different. The promises in a Half-Life game can take different forms. Some are simple, like offering just a glimpse of something intriguing. Others are more layered, like the interactions with Metro Cops. By putting the player in a powerless position against them, we set the stage for that future moment when they can finally get to retaliate.
I see. Yo, Donkey Kong, you ever played Half-Life 2?
The Citadel. We wanted the player's first view of City 17 to highlight the Citadel and its dominance over the city, representing the Combine's complete and total power over humanity. It also needed to serve as a clear goal. Even at the start, you can see where your journey ends. But despite its massive size, playtesters often missed it. A player's sense of depth and scale can be tricky on a computer monitor. If you've played any games in VR, you'll likely have noticed that scale feels more natural. Anyway, in this case, the Citadel's position above the player didn't help things either, which may be because FPS games train players to focus straight ahead or down at their feet. To improve the chances of players taking in the Citadel, we added birds flying towards the
Nah, but it
structure.
looks fun.
A subtle trick we found helps guide the player's view.
This probably isn't helping the fun factor. This isn't looking at the developer's commentary. Okay, sorry. I can hear my voice.
Do our benefactors
Again.
really know what's best?
Okay. So it's like
What
that
gives them the
weird
right to make this
like
kind of
microphone
decision?
looping thing and trying to say something.
Will they ever
It's all
deactivate
freaked
the
out.
suppression field and let us breed again?
Ropes. One of the things we noticed in all of the reference images that we gathered for City 17 was that there were cables and wires everywhere, and that they were a large part of the high-frequency detail in view. We love the look of these older European cities enmeshed in the haphazard web of modern life. We felt like we needed a solution for cables, ropes, and similar elements, and we wanted them to be dynamic. Our level designers were eager to create plug puzzles, and connecting a cord to each plug helped players better understand the mechanics. Early in production, we built a rope system and iterated on it throughout development. Under the hood, each rope is made of multiple segments stretched between the two endpoints, and they can move independently. Each segment acts like a spring and responds to forces in the game, such as a gentle wind or the passing of a Combine gunship overhead. When rendered, each segment is shown facing the camera and is bump mapped, which is crucial for giving the ropes a realistic, rounded appearance.
And started at the shadows that leapt upon the cavern's wall. But inseparable from instinct is its dark twin, superstition. Instinct is inextricably bound to unreasoning impulse. And today we clearly see its true nature.
Okay, Donkey Kong, if you're watching, check this out, okay? This is called
And like a cornered beast,
Backwards Bunny Hopping. Let's go. Hold on. Try again, try again.
creates its own oppressive and gives us rise up against.
See how fast I'm going? See how fast I'm going? See how fast I'm going?
Is a threat
I almost did it.
rather than an opportunity.
See how fast I'm going?
Instincts,
Hold on, check it out one more time.
compels us away from change and progress. Instinct, therefore, must be expanded. It must be fought tooth and nail, beginning with
Check it out, check it out one more time.
human urges.
Check out this background. Hold on, one more time. Hey! Okay. I'm gonna go over there so fast. Okay. It was like this was actually it. How do I slow down after the first time? Look how fast I'm going, look how fast I'm going, look how fast I'm going. Look, 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 look. Ah! Okay, that was good. I'm using that.
Early game exploration. Up until this plaza, the player likely hasn't had to think much about their path, as it's been clear and straightforward.
Yeah.
But here, we wanted to encourage exploration, which meant
Yeah,
making the
this
way
is the part where
forward
I got
less
stuck
obvious,
when I first
which
played
can produce
this.
a feeling of being lost or, worse, confused, as you might expect. These kinds of shifts can be tough, especially early in the game, when the player is still learning the game's guidance cues. Here, it's further complicated by force-fielded checkpoints,
Yeah,
which
these
allow
things.
NPC citizens to move through, but restrict the player, leading many playtesters to believe that there was a way to bypass them.
What's going on?
Ultimately, it was extensive testing that helped us find the right visibility for the alley forward, using lighting, layout, and a wooden crate, an object players have already used as a sign they're headed in the right direction, all to subtly guide them forward.
Sincerely, a concerned citizen.
Exploration. After being herded through the train station by Metrocops, we wanted to give the player a chance to explore. This plaza offers
Playtesting Anecdote 1. One memorable playtest reminded us that we can never be certain what players are thinking or what lessons they've taken from their experience. This tester, after playing from the start and stuck trying to open a door, spent several minutes going back and forth between the game and the keyboard settings. When we asked what they were looking for, they said they were searching for the inventory controls, thinking they could use an item they'd picked up earlier to unlock the door. While we'd seen them collect and drop several physics objects, they'd misunderstood what was happening. The tester believed that pressing the use key while holding an object moved it into an inventory because the item dropped straight down. We knew it was just gravity, but their assumption wasn't crazy. Some adventure games of that era did slide items into an invisible inventory that way.
True.
We explained there was no inventory, and the playtest continued. Later, we considered whether we needed to address this, but since no other playtesters had the same confusion, and all of our potential solutions were more heavy-handed than necessary, we decided it was an outlier that was okay to remain unaddressed. It served as a good reminder, though, of how even the most subtle, overlooked details can mislead a player.
That's kind of crazy, actually. So hold on, so the dude was like, oh, I have an item, and I went, and then no way, it's like I can pick this up. It's like, wow, I have it now. Don't mind the giant boost that just happened. This guy was just confused all throughout. He's like, okay, cool, it's in my inventory now. And then he steps over it. It went in my inventory. It's like, okay. Boom, it's in my inventory now. You know, I actually can't get this out of my head. It's like, it's in my inventory now. This too. It's like, alright. It took some time, but it's in there.
Strider. This simple moment is a promise that you'll encounter this enormous thing later in the game. Even an uncomplicated scene such as this really does require a lot of playtesting and iteration because of Half-Life's goal of not taking control away from the player. As you can imagine, it takes a lot of small tweaks to ensure that as many players as possible are looking at the right place at the right time here. The street layout and the Metrocop scene are all set to guide the player's gaze, perfectly framing the Strider when it appears.
True. And I saw it the first time. This thing is pissing me off. Oh. I just got this crazy, massive, super duper wild idea. Check it out. Okay. So we're going to B-hop. Okay, we're going to B-hop straight onto this. Okay, I've actually never tried this before. So here we go. Okay. Okay. Getting a cool shadow to help me out. How nice. Okay. Let's try this. Oh my god. Okay. One more time. Oh my god. Okay. One more time. You know what? It's not happening. It's not happening. It's actually not happening. Let's go. Let's keep it going. We're losing viewers, and I don't
Closed
blame you.
captions. During Half-Life 2 development, we were approached by folks interested in accessibility who encouraged us to go beyond the subtitle system we had built for Half-Life 1. They requested a full-featured closed captioning system to capture all game sounds, not just dialogue. This turned out to be a much tougher challenge than expected. Half-Life 2 produced a wide variety of sounds, and categorizing them for captions was crucial. Prioritization was also key. Dialogue needed to stand out, and it had to be clear who was speaking. Ambient sounds, like distant combat, were important for setting the mood in some levels, but less so if there was an enemy shooting nearby. Our level designers also often reuse sounds in different contexts, so sound might require captioning in one area, but not in another. Ultimately, every sound in the game ended up with its own caption data, formatted almost like a small version of HTML, giving us control over the visual style of each caption. As with the audio files, the caption data was too large to keep in memory.
Physics simulation. Even though we began Half-Life 2 with a functional third-party physics simulation, it still took us years of additional work both on the simulation itself and its integration into the game until we felt like we could meet our designers' ambitions. Maintaining a shippable level of quality and performance was something we knew would be a challenge along the way, but the more subtle issue was actually figuring out what to simulate and to what extent. We can't simulate everything, and even if we could, there are game design reasons why the experience is better when we don't. In many cases, we deliberately bend the simulation to improve the player's experience. These adjustments usually go unnoticed because they align with player intentions. For example, we disable collisions between the player and large objects to let them turn in narrow spaces. Or we tweak the Combine rifle's alternate fire to gently guide the Combine ball toward enemies, making it more effective.
Ooh. I actually didn't know they guided that. That's kind of crazy. Alright. Next level. Guys, are we gonna play through the entirety?
Materials and shaders. Half-Life 2 came out in the midst of a significant shift in 3D graphics, where the industry moved from textures to materials and shaders. In Half-Life 1, every surface had a texture, essentially an image wrapped onto the polygons of the surface. But by Half-Life 2, just 5 years later, every surface had both a material and a shader. The shader was a lump of code that customized how the surface was rendered. The material defined properties for how the surface behaved physically and how it responded to gameplay features. It also held references to textures and other parameters for the shader to use for rendering. As a result, artists and designers...
Cube maps. With the addition of materials and shaders, we needed a solution for reflective surfaces like glass and steel. These surfaces had to know what to reflect, but in 2003 we couldn't do any of that rendering in real time. So we developed the cube map system for pre-computed reflections. A cube map is a set of 6 images on the inside of a cube, capturing the environment in every direction, like a panoramic photo that surrounds you on all sides. Level designers placed invisible marker entities throughout the levels, and during map compilation...
Missing material. Missing material. Early on in developing our low-level graphics code, we realized it would be difficult to spot polygons that weren't rendering due to a missing texture. When this happened, you'd typically just see black where the polygon should be, which could easily go unnoticed in darker scenes. To catch this bug more reliably, we created an error texture that would be visually unmistakable and generated automatically whenever a texture failed to load. This gave rise to the now iconic purple and black checkerboard texture, which has since taken on a life of its own well beyond Half-Life 2.
True, actually. True, actually, because I've seen it outside of Half-Life.
The raid. The section ahead, where the Metro Cops raid the apartment while the player is inside, took a lot of iteration to get right. Generally, we design Half-Life to let players set their own pace, since people move through the game in a variety of ways. Some players run, ignoring anything that doesn't seem like a threat, while others methodically poke at everything. So, whenever we need to force a specific pace, it's always a challenge to ensure players perceive that pace and naturally play along.
Good night, Mr. Collins.
Since this is the first time we do this, we had to put in a lot of work to make it clear to the player that they needed to move quickly, and there's no time for
Let's Play
exploration.
session. If you have any game ideas for me to play, put them down in the chat, in case I can read them. But good night. Good night.
The Raid 2. In addition to making sure the player felt the pressure to move forward, we had to ensure the raid itself was foolproof. There couldn't be any way for the player to avoid it or double back past the Metro Cop. The real challenge wasn't that players would try to break the scene, but that many would panic and run in random directions once they realized they were under threat for the first time. This moment requires a delicate balance. We wanted a heart-pounding escape, the sense of real danger, but we wanted players to make it through on their first try and feel like they escaped by the skin of their teeth. To achieve this, we kept the path ahead clear and reminiscent to the one they had just taken through the previous floor. A series of carefully placed triggers controls the threats appearing ahead and behind, maintaining the pressure while still giving players enough time to stay ahead of their pursuers.
What a bunch of intelligent games and people. I was gonna say games and then I realized...
Health and no HUD. The rooftop chase sequence posed a unique design challenge. We didn't want it to be a true gameplay obstacle, and our best case was for players to make it through on their first try. But we still wanted to create the sense of real danger, where players felt legitimately threatened if they didn't keep moving. The challenge was that without the HEV suit, players don't technically have a heads-up display or HUD, which means no way to show damage or remaining health. After some experimenting, we created a special health system for this section, using a red glow around the screen to indicate damage. Players reacted as we hoped, taking it as a sign to keep moving, and the chase unfolded as intended. To top it off, we made health regenerate quickly so the glow wouldn't linger, reinforcing to players that running was indeed the right choice, and ensuring players weren't taken down by a stray bullet at the end just because they dawdled or hesitated earlier on.
There we go. There we go.
Playtesting anecdote 2. In the upcoming section, we needed the player to be knocked down so Alex could save them.
Okay.
With limited time and resources, we simplified the encounter as much as possible, reusing existing systems and letting it play out like a normal combat sequence, with a custom event triggered when the player died. After a few playtests to fine-tune the timing, we moved on. But as we got close to shipping, we encountered a problem with a playtester who quick-saved constantly and immediately hit quick-load whenever they thought they'd failed. When a Metro cop hit them, they quick-loaded before Alex could step in, repeating this more than 10 times before we asked them to stop. At this stage of development, in the final bug-fixing phase, we had to limit ourselves to fixing only game-breaking issues, since even small changes could risk breaking something more important. Knowing this was a rare edge case, because most players had no trouble, we made a few conservative changes. We shortened the delay between the knockdown and Alex's first line, and changed the fade-out color to white instead of black, which wasn't ultimately that useful since players hadn't died enough yet to associate black with death. We considered disabling quick load for the few seconds that the scene plays out, but we were worried that could introduce a bug where quick load became disabled permanently.
True. Okay, that was kind of fun. Oh my god. Oh my god. Alex.
Over here! Ha! No, you don't!
No, you don't. No, you don't. Ha! No, you don't. Ha! No, you don't.
Dr. Freeman,
No,
I
you
presume.
don't. Okay, I'm done.
We better hurry. The Combine can be slow to wake, but once they're up, you don't want to get in their way. Dr. Kleiner said you'd be coming this way.
Alex. Nailing Alex's design was a big challenge. We wanted the player to both respect and care for her.
Okay.
Saving
That was actually
Eli
so
was
close.
a key player goal midway through the game, and we knew that getting players to care about that goal would be easier if they also cared about Alex and her relationship with her
Look
father.
at him.
We intentionally designed, wrote dialogue, and cast the voice
Guys,
actor
look
for
at it.
Alex to be savvy,
They're
capable,
like
and
laying on
relatable
the
within the
floor.
Combine-controlled world, while
So
also
happy
making her
holding
attractive and
hands.
charismatic.
Do you think
We
they
aim
were
to avoid the
lovers?
objectification, exaggeration,
Do you think
and
they were in
hypersexuality that
love?
many games of the 2000s
Okay, next.
featured, as we
Let's
felt
go.
that would undermine our goals for her character.
I'm Alex Vance. My father worked with you back in Black Mesa.
Okay.
I'm sure you don't remember me,
yeah.
Man, a few words, aren't you?
NPCs on elevators. We often spend a significant amount of time solving problems that players might not even notice. Many of these are subtle design challenges, while others stem from multiple systems interacting with each other. For example, getting non-player characters to ride in elevators posed a complex problem because it involved various systems, NPC AI decision-making, navigation planning, and movement simulation, to name a few. Additionally, the elevator itself had its own simulation requirements unrelated to NPCs. One of the more subtle challenges came from the fact that we simulate NPCs at a slower rate than we simulate elevators. This meant that NPCs on a descending elevator would simulate to make sure they were properly standing on the elevator, and then the elevator would simulate a few times, each time moving further down the elevator shaft, subtly leaving the NPC behind. Shortly after that, the NPC would simulate a second time and pop itself down on the elevator floor once again. You can imagine that it was hard to take Alex seriously when she was constantly falling down in small increments while talking to you.
So, actually true. Let me check something. Okay, so Make myself float in.
Interactive storytelling. When we started...
Funny, you showing up on this day in particular.
It's okay.
Kleiner's Lab. Kleiner's Lab was the first piece of storytelling we worked on, and the one that took the longest to figure out.
She doesn't turn around anymore.
Role in launching the player into the game, it eventually became the unifying vision for the development team in terms of storytelling.
Okay.
As we began building our characters and narrative delivery around the player, many questions arose, all of which felt like major risks for the game. Would players be able to extract the important information from the scene? Could we get them to care about these characters? How would we support players with varying levels of investment in the story? How costly would it be to produce a scene like this? And how many more would we need? These and many more were questions we couldn't answer until we built enough of the scene and tested it with a lot of playtesters. Frustratingly, unlike many other problems we face, these weren't questions we could confidently answer until we had done significant work. We can
Animation. Constructing believable human motion for our characters out of many discrete layers of animation required a lot of technological iteration.
Yeah.
Even simple actions like turning to look at something or walking to a location became more complex when combined with the need to dynamically respond to the player and the requirements of choreo commands. For example, turning to look at something had to be fully composed, allowing a character to use any combination of its eyes, head, shoulders, upper torso, or full body to face a target. In Half-Life 1, human characters had their bodies separated into upper and lower halves, allowing them to walk in one direction while facing another.
True.
However, this approach was too abstract for Half-Life 2's characters. Instead, our animators created walking animations in all 8 directions of the compass, which could then be smoothly blended together at runtime.
Man, Gordon, you stirred up the hive.
Have I now?
Choreo commands. This debug visualization shows the 2 most common choreo commands actors receive throughout a scene, internally known as look-ats and move-tos. Actors are given targets to look at, sometimes more than one at a time, and then try to focus on the one that makes the most sense given their current state. At the same time, they might be receiving move-to commands, which tell them to move to a location and face a specific direction or object. Even these seemingly simple commands involved a lot of complexity. A scene might require an actor to talk while typing on a keyboard, all while looking at an object the player is holding. Since we couldn't predict where the player would be during playback, authoring scenes like this required us to break each element of the scene into separate pieces and layers. These could then be reassembled as needed during playback, based on the player's actions and interrupted if necessary.
Yes, certainly not. Never fear, Gordon. She's deep in
Lab interactivity. In our choreo scenes, we have the player trapped for a bit, allowing us to focus on the characters and narrative. To accommodate different players, some deeply invested in the story, others unable to stand still for more than a second, we felt like we needed a constant stream of interesting details on screen. We scattered narrative elements throughout the environment, ensuring some were interactive, essentially toys for the player to tinker with. In some cases, we embedded further storytelling into these, like the cactus mini-teleporter hinting at the upcoming teleporter failure. It was a delicate balance. Too much visual interest could distract players from the core of the scene. Ultimately, Kleiner's Lab played it safe with interactivity, as it was the first major choreo scene. Later, in Eli's lab, we explored it more deeply, ensuring the characters themselves paid attention to what the players were tinkering with.
Check it out. Did it work? I'm trying to break the teleporter.
Careful.
The cactus plant.
Writing. In the Half-Life 1 era, player goals in FPS games were still largely about fighting and defeating an obviously evil enemy. It was hard to get players to care about characters when they were as low fidelity as they were in Half-Life 1. With the planned improvements in character fidelity for Half-Life 2, we wanted to take a shot at making characters the driving force of the narrative. Our goal was for the players' motivations to align with those of our characters. for the player to care about their hopes and fears, and to want them to succeed. With this in mind, we were able to assemble our approach to character and dialogue. We would create a set of characters who liked and cared about each other, hoping that the player would feel the same.
Voice actors. To create more responsive and multidimensional characters in Half-Life 2, we needed to evolve our approach to working with voice actors. While running through a script with a modicum of direction was sufficient for much of the NPC dialogue for Half-Life 1, for Half-Life 2, we decided to give the actors more of an opportunity to be involved in helping to define the characters and bring them to life. We provided much more story context to the actors, showing them the game world, the environments their characters inhabited, and the other characters they interacted with. We sought actors who could take all that information and synthesize it into their performances to elevate their characters beyond what we had imagined. We held multiple sessions with the main actors, allowing them to digest and build upon their characters over time. For scenes where characters are interacting with each other, we'd often cue an actor with performances from other actors in the scene to create a better sense of connection and flow. Though we'd arrive at the studio with a script and a plan for the recording session, we made sure that the actors felt empowered and had the space to bring their own ideas to the character and performances. Having animators attend the voiceover sessions also proved critical, as they were responsible for stitching the characters' dialogue together with physical actions and expressions to form the resulting choreo scene. Tone. Tone. Setting the right tone for our characters and their dialogue was critical. We aimed for a respectful, almost pleasant style of interaction with the player, while avoiding anything that felt too subservient. This balance was especially tricky with Alex, who needed to support the player without compromising the strength of her character, something we felt was crucial for players to respect her. Her relationship with Eli was a core driver of the player's motivations, so it was important that players liked her and wanted to help her. We also wanted to contrast the warmth and camaraderie between the player's allies against the hostilities of Breen and the Combine, inspiring a sense of righteous indignation in the players for the battles ahead.
Okay, I mean, that's like pretty cool.
Alex's kiss. It's a small moment, but Alex's kiss on Eli's cheek was important. Eventually, we're going to ask the player to save Eli, and we want them to care about him. To build that emotional connection, we needed to show the warmth and affection between Alex and Eli. We didn't want to oversell it with dialogue or make it too big of an event. It had to feel genuine, not performative. And we were able to iterate on the subtleties of this moment until it struck just the right note.
That's pretty cool. That's like kind of cool.
Monitors. We use monitors a lot for storytelling in Half-Life 2 in the episodes. So much so that we even make fun of ourselves for it. The problem is they're just too damn useful. They're fantastic for expanding the world by showing events happening elsewhere. And they provide an easy way to have characters talk without needing to explain how they all got to the player's location. Anyone who's ever written any kind of story, especially one with an ensemble cast, understands the unique frustration of trying to create natural reasons for all of your characters to come together in the same place. In this case, we were really happy with how the monitor allowed Alex to teleport away and then quickly appear in Eli's lab, making everything feel real and connected.
Scene interactivity.
I felt connected.
At certain
First
points in
time,
our
okay, I
choreo
felt
scenes,
connected.
we require the player to take action. Beyond simply giving them something to do and keeping them engaged, these moments served a few key
Alice was
purposes.
waiting.
First, they allow the
I thought
player
I
to
missed the
catch up,
kiss.
even if they've been distracted by something else in the environment. The scene could safely pause until the player completed the task, ensuring they were back and paying attention. At the same time, it let us position the player where we needed them, which was useful for framing the scene and making sure they saw something important. In some cases, we got double value out of these moments by using them to train the player. Here, they're learning to interact with plugs and sockets, a skill they'll need for puzzles later in the game.
Throw your switch. Very good. Final sequence. Commencing now.
G-Man.
I can't look.
The G-Man is gonna be here. Check it out. If you guys don't believe me, just check out the little monitor right there. Look. G-Man's eye.
Well, did it work?
See for yourself.
Oh, come on now.
Hey, Doc. Thank goodness. My relief is almost palpable.
Fantastic work, is it?
Well, I can't take all the credit. Dr. Freeman proved an able assistant.
Let's go ahead and bring Gordon through now.
Right you are. Speak to you again in a few moments.
Good job, Gordon. Throwing that switch and all. I can see your MIT education really pays for itself.
All right, Barney. Your turn.
Gee, thanks.
Gordon, as soon as you're in position, we'll send you to Eli.
And not a moment too soon.
Octua.
Excellent. Initializing in 3, 2, 1. Barney, if you'd be so kind.
Good luck out there, Gordon.
Yes, indeed. We're ready to project you, Gordon. Bon voyage, and best of luck in your future endeavors.
First time I played this,
Final sequence.
I was like legitimately hyped to be teleported. Oh my god, the story's going great. Such great pacing. Alex?
What's going on? I'm not sure. It seems to be some kind of interference.
Stay put. We'll get you out of there.
Something's throwing him
Sorely
away.
mistaken.
What's the meaning of this? Who are you? How did you get in here?
Hey, take this back. I'm getting him out of there. Send some weed into the field. It will peel you apart.
Let's go.
I'm encountering unexpected interference.
Don't worry, Gordon.
There he is. Again.
I'm all but certain it was Gordon Freeman.
I'm trying to see what I look like.
He didn't come through.
Then where is he?
Behind you.
Behind you, you idiot.
Shut it down. Shut it down.
Gordon, you must get out of here. Run.
You fucking moron. They already got pictures of it there. Like it's over. They're screwed. Get away from me. Get away from me, you freaking freak. Oh, they can just fly over. They can just fly over.
Phonium extraction. Another critical tool we built into FacePoser was the phonium editor. It processed the voice actors' dialogue lines and extracted phonium to generate basic lip sync animations for our characters. For the hero characters, our animators use this as a starting point to create high-quality custom animations for each dialogue line, incorporating full facial animation. However, in a dynamic choreo scene, the animators wouldn't know exactly what the rest of the actor's body would be doing. This meant it required careful layering of choreo commands and timings in FacePoser, while still maintaining the actor's ability to dynamically respond to the player.
At the time of Half-Life 2's release, most first-person shooters gave the player a gun or a melee weapon right off the bat, but we opted to start them empty-handed. Without a weapon, it was easier to train the player on more novel ways they're able to interact with the world and introduce them to our story. We wanted the player to transition from fugitive to the aggressor, and arming them at the right time created that moment naturally.
Dynamic mixing. During gameplay, many sounds are playing at the same time, but some are naturally more important than others, and we need to set the volumes of the sounds relative to each other to ensure that the important ones stand out. In a movie, this sound mixing is done as a post-process, but in a game, it happens real time, responding to the player's actions, so we can't predict ahead of time which sounds will play simultaneously. To handle this, all the sounds are grouped into types and tagged with priorities. Then during gameplay, the audio system monitors all the active sounds and lowers the volume of sounds in a group if a higher priority sound is playing. And this mixing is adjustable. If the gunshots need to be loud in one scene, we can make them higher priority there. If a specific line of dialogue needs to be heard clearly, it can then force all the other sounds to drop in volume. And we do the same thing with music. It's a subtle but bullet audio. If there's one thing we're sure of, it's that a lot of bullets will fly past a player throughout the game. So we spent a bunch of time trying to perfect the audio treatment for it. Unfortunately, bullets in the game are essentially instantaneous, so we can't just attach a sound to them and rely on the movement for positioning. So after some experimentation, we landed on this solution. By figuring out the closest point on the bullet's trajectory to the player's ear, we calculate the exact time and position the bullet would conceptually pass them. We then play two different sounds at that point to fake a Doppler effect, one for the bullet's approach and one for its departure. And we delay the departure sound based on the calculated time the bullet passed by.
Audio caching. Another problem we ran into was the sheer amount of audio in the game. With all the gameplay sounds, music, and dialogue, we had too much audio to be able to store it all in memory. Memory was at a premium in 2003. But as you can imagine, we need to be able to play sounds immediately, especially if they're gameplay related. So we built an audio cache, which stored only the first 125 milliseconds of every audio file and kept that in memory. That 125 millisecond time was our best guess for how long it would take us to be able to stream an audio file in from disk. Then, whenever a sound was played in-game, we played the start of it from our audio cache while simultaneously kicking off a load of the full audio file from disk. By the time our cache start ended, we'd have the file loaded and could continue playing the rest of the sound.
Physics sound. Getting physics to feel right for the player meant that the sounds produced by physics had to sound right too. As humans, we're all used to how objects and materials sound during various interactions, even if it's not something we actively notice. While we knew we couldn't account for everything, we wanted to focus on the details that contributed most to making our physics sound realistic. We started with per-object sounds for collisions and impacts. This allowed an object like a wooden crate to have custom sounds when it collided with other objects or classes of objects. Next, we began dynamically modifying these sounds based on the characteristics of the physical event, such as the masses involved and the force of the collision.
Automating DSP. All the sounds the player hears are processed through our Digital Signal Processing System, or DSP. And this just refers to how audio is altered to reflect the environment the player is in. For example, the same sound will differ when heard in a parking garage, a small room, outdoors. In Half-Life 1, we manually placed invisible nodes throughout the world to define these DSP settings for each space. For Half-Life 2, we knew that manual placement was just going to be way too time-consuming, especially since we wanted a larger game, and we still only had one audio person on the team. So we built a system that automatically determines the DSP settings around the player in real time. It does this by analyzing the space around the player, assessing the volume they're within. It examines the materials that make up the environment, basically. And then the system matches that space to one of the 25 hand-authored basic DSP types. We adjust some parameters.
I was muted the whole time.
Metro Cop scene. This is another scene designed to make it clear that the Metro Cops are the bad guys, except this time the player has a weapon and can finally do something about it. That something comes out of the barrel of a gun. We knew we needed the player to feel righteous, and this moment was part of creating that. The Metro Cops are still human, unlike the rest of the Combine in the game, so we felt like we had to go the extra mile in making sure the player's actions felt like justice and not just wrath.
Staircase. There are situations throughout the game that stem from simple and quite straightforward design goals, and this staircase features two of them. The first was to frame the Citadel as it awakened, showing the player they stirred up the hive. The second was to showcase our ragdoll system. While it's standard now, in 2004 it was still a novelty to see bodies tumble realistically, and Stairs provided a perfect stage to make that happen.
It really was.
Get down here. You go. There you go. Get down the stairs, boy. Wow, look at that.
City 17 awakens. The early train station section was designed to make the city feel indifferent toward the player, as if Gordon is just another nameless, faceless citizen, ripe for subjugation. But during the tenement raid and rooftop chase, the city identified...
We don't feel like that
Explosive barrels. Here, we introduce explosive barrels, a staple of first-person shooters, but with a new twist. The second pistol shot sets the barrel on fire, starting a timed detonation. A third shot will detonate the barrel immediately. This way, players could either delay the explosion or trigger it right away, depending on the situation. Players may want to feed an explosive barrel to a barnacle and then shoot it twice as a handy way to safely dispatch a cluster of them. The delayed explosion also made for more interesting chain reactions between multiple barrels. Exploding barrels were a fan favorite in the series, but also were internally favored by level designers who often felt like the game could never have enough of them.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Scanners. Scanners presented a tricky game design challenge. While we liked how their dystopian presence helped convey the Combine occupation as an oppressive surveillance state, we didn't actually want them to shoot at the player. We found that aiming into the sky to hit a small mobile enemy with a constant height advantage was something we couldn't make fun. Since we loved their role in the story, we decided that in combat, scanners would serve primarily as eyes, alerting nearby enemies to the player's presence, a feature we reinforced with sound effects from the soldiers. Beyond that, they'd only be able to harass the player with bright lights and occasionally dive bomb after taking enough damage.
Overwatch. During development, we generated the Overwatch voice using a free text-to-speech tool, but as we neared shipping, we realized we didn't actually have the rights to use it, so we held auditions with voice actors to find someone who could match the qualities we liked in the generated lines. It didn't take long before we found Ellen McLean, whose delivery was exactly what we were looking for. In her sessions, we played the generated lines for her to mimic, though in her own style. She was a bit sarcastic at first, given that she was being asked to replicate such a robotic delivery, but years later, when she returned for her iconic role as GLaDOS in Portal, she'd found a way to creatively integrate that tone into her performance.
I'm out of words.
Pistol design. The standard pistol is the workhorse of the game, functioning not only as the first range weapon you learn to use, but also as a method to interact with physics and destructible objects at a safe distance for the entirety of the game. To help make it feel more responsive and fun to use, the pistol employs a refire mechanic that's unique to it in the game. The gun will fire as fast as the player can click their input button, meaning that they feel an instant response to their input, and the faster they can click, the faster they can shoot.
9. Is that really how it works? Is that really yeah, true. I'm out of ammo already. Okay. Oh, there goes that box. Oh my god.
Shatter glass. When designing early levels where there are fewer mechanics in the player's toolkit, we found that it's just as engaging to spotlight new technical features instead, as we did here with breakable glass. For the shattering effect, glass was divided into a grid of small squares, allowing us to track which were intact or broken, and to blow out larger sections once enough squares were no longer connected. Each square was rendered with a unique texture based on the status of its neighboring squares, creating the sharp, jagged edges between broken and intact glass. While breaking glass is now commonplace in games, it was something we hadn't seen much back when we were making Half-Life 2, and we're incredibly happy with the level of fidelity and dynamicism it brought to the game.
Oh my god. Nice. Let's keep going.
Helicopter Peekaboo. The Combine attack helicopter as central antagonist was something we wanted to develop throughout the entire chapter. The relentless chopper became a character in its own right. Here, if you listen and look overhead, you can hear its engine and see it flying along the train tracks and into the distance.
Iterative passes. Some chapters of the game, such as the on-foot sections of the canals in Ravenholm, were developed in multiple passes by different cabals. We found that handing off maps in this way led to greater variety in the experience, and a higher density of interesting moments, as each cabal added their unique touches to the maps. In the on-foot portion of the canals, the first pass established the art direction and the player path, along with the broad strokes of the experience and some major beats. But the team-wide alpha playtest identified insufficient tension and a somewhat monotonous experience here. In our second pass, we returned to the map solely focused on creating that tension and greatly increased the density of moment-to-moment scenarios.
Water shader. The most complex shader we made for the game was the water shader, which made full use of the newly available programmable graphics cards. When water was present, the scene was rendered 3 times. First, the underwater world for refraction, second, a reflected view, and third, the parts above the water. When rendering the water surface, we blended the refractive and reflective views, showing more reflection at glancing angles using the Fresnel equation. We also tracked the ground depth below the water's surface, making it more transparent and less refractive in shallow areas. Additionally, we had to create 2 alternate water rendering techniques for lower-end graphics cards. Mid-range cards displayed a lower detail reflection without refraction or transparency, while low-end cards only rendered a partially transparent surface.
Okay, so that's actually not cool. It's good to know. Hey, that drone.
Interstitial scenes. As playtesting progressed, we often found areas where players lost track of their goal, which isn't uncommon in a game like Half-Life. To address this, we added smaller interstitial scenes to help guide players along their path and reinforce their objective. After finishing the bulk of development on our larger choreo scenes, like Kleiner's lab, putting these smaller scenes together became relatively straightforward. We discovered that using characters in these moments worked much better than relying on passive storytelling, or even some sort of reminder you'd find baked into a pause menu.
True, really true.
Good God! Guess those sirens are for you, huh? Good thing you found us. You're not the first to come through here by
This is the Freeman, the Combine.
Boxcar Bill. This small scene originally featured 2 human characters, but later in development, we replaced one with a Vortigaunt. We wanted to show that Vortigaunts were coexisting with humans and resisting the Combine as well. We also introduced their ability to heal the player, although we didn't fully capitalize on that feature throughout the game.
True.
Vortigaunts became a useful narrative tool for keeping dialogue brief, as their hive mind justified their full knowledge of the world and the player's goals. This meant they never had to ask questions, neatly sidestepping the challenge of writing dialogue for a silent protagonist.
True. It's full of scratches, missing hair. What a sad life. A half-life, you might say. Okay.
Particles. For the Source engine, we invested in expanding particle and special effects technology. This allowed for more realistic and complex particle movement, as well as more intricate shapes and shader effects. In particular, adding bump mapping to our particles features made a huge difference in the volumetric look of them. While later iterations of the Source engine include a powerful particle system editor, the original version used in Half-Life 2 relied on handcrafted effects, each requiring a programmer to meticulously build the effect manually, which was a pretty labor-intensive process.
Barnacle introduction. Because
Yeah.
barnacles can be confusing when first encountered, we wanted to introduce them in a way that showed players their behavior at a safe distance. We decided to do that through a nature show style predator-prey scene. But as always, scenes like this took a lot of iteration to get players to reliably see.
Surface properties. We play custom footstep sounds when the player walks on the slippery mud. This was a system called Surface Properties that used the material type to determine the sounds and other effects that should occur when walked on or shot at.
Mounted gun gallery. There are a few things going on in the scene. The turret firing at the breakable crates behind teaches players not to take the threat head-on and instead utilize the sewer route to defeat it. And when they reach the turret, players enjoy using it in a shooting gallery with a wave of Combine soldiers and dive-bombing scanners. We also begin to introduce the missile-firing Combine APC that pushes the players along and will show up again later in the chapter.
Do I even need to do it? I could just, like, literally skip over it. Oh my god. Maybe not, maybe not. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Skip. Hashtag skip. Can I get a kid?
Over here!
Yeah, what's up?
Keep going, friend. That station was raided, but there's others up ahead. I'm gonna stay here in case any others come through.
Okay.
Gotta keep the railway alive.
I guess. Good luck. Okay. Freaks. Oh my god.
Running around a corner into a new area just to see enemies standing there is always awkward, and it makes the world feel less alive and more like a shooting gallery. So we were motivated to introduce enemies into combat spaces in more interesting and dynamic ways that would communicate planning and intentionality on their part, as if these soldiers had had a plan for Gordon even before he showed up. The Metrocops in this scene jump down into this space via scripted sequences, and later in the game we use rappelling in a similar way. It doesn't matter where they're coming from in reality because players end up telling that story to themselves. We found that in the end, combat should have a story implied in its setup. An ambush, a surprise, a surge, an assault. All of these scenarios use much of the same enemy AI, but all felt different to playtesters.
Barnacle bowling. This is a satisfying example of how a bunch of design elements can come together in a matrix of interactions to create a memorable scenario for the player. We got barnacles, our physics simulations, slippery mud surface properties, and last but not least, explosive barrels. You've encountered all these on their own, but they're able to snap together naturally to create a moment we called Barnacle Bowling.
That's pretty awesome. Nice. Oh, let's look at the face. No, you're in there. Oh. Okay. Oh, there he is. Guys, do you know? Okay, did you know? Did you know? This is a real face of a burn victim. The only difference is, like, this eye is different. But there's the whole picture is like the same. So nasty, his teeth. Okay, we're out. We're done. We're actually done. I don't remember the being that much. I don't remember. Okay. Oh my god. Can I take a piss? And can you make it last forever? Okay. Not a single okay, yeah, there we go.
Physics in puzzles. Often, simpler mechanics encountered earlier in the game are pulled from more complex ones as a form of training. The teeter-totter puzzle, the first physics-based contraption in the game, was actually derived from a later, more intricate washing machine puzzle in the canals. The teeter-totter uses the same principles of mass and ramps, but in a more straightforward way that players can directly interact with, helping them understand the game's physics and making later puzzles easier to tackle. This puzzle also highlights the analog nature of the physics system, with the placement of cement blocks and the player's own weight both factoring into the solution.
True. I don't know if this is a puzzle that has aged well, personally. But hey, I prefer it being in the game. So get out of here.
Combine attack helicopter. Players have had glimpses before, but here's where we fully introduce the main boss of the Canals chapter, the Combine attack helicopter. This chopper relentlessly destroys a player's cover, forcing them to move forward or risk being gunned down. We wanted this sequence to feel tense and menacing, with the helicopter seeming far too powerful to confront directly, and maintaining that intensity through the canals until the final showdown in the reservoir. To achieve this, we heavily constrained the helicopter's movements based on specific gameplay goals. In this map, designed as a dash from cover to cover under helicopter fire, we created a ring path in the sky above the arena. The helicopter always travels to the farthest point on that ring from the player, keeping it visible and making it easier for us to place cover in just the right spots.
That's crazy.
Normal maps. Half-Life 2 was developed during an exciting time for graphics, as the first programmable shader-supported graphics cards were hitting the market. Using this technology, we became one of the first games to implement normal maps, a technique that enhanced the lighting on surface geometry. The normal map described the surface's roughness, allowing each pixel of a polygon to be lit in a way that made surfaces appear bumpier and more detailed than ever possible in Half-Life 1.
Wow.
Normal maps. Half-Life 2 was developed during an exciting time for graphics, as the first programmable shader-supported graphics cards were hitting the market. Using this technology, we became one of the first games to implement normal maps, a technique that enhanced the lighting on surface geometry. The normal map described the surface's roughness, allowing each pixel of a polygon to be lit in a way that made surfaces appear bumpier and more detailed than ever possible in Half-Life 1.
That's actually crazy.
Autosave dangerous. In Half-Life 1, we had a set of autosaves throughout the game, hand-placed by level designers and triggered when the player reached some specific moment or position in the game. This ensured that the game was automatically saved for you as you traversed through Black Mesa's corridors. In Half-Life 2, we found ourselves needing a new tool. The problem arose in some of the more complex arenas we'd built. Some of those encounters would last for quite a while and features multiple sets of enemies. Others were long, sprawling mixes of exploration and combat without any clear separation between the two. We never want an autosave where the player is in danger of dying right after loading the game, because that could place the player in a death loop. If you played enough games back then, you definitely found yourself in this situation at least once. So unless we deliberately crafted pauses in every arena's flow, there wasn't always a safe place to put an autosave. After some experimentation, we implemented a feature called Autosave Dangerous. This was a level designer tool that combined an autosave with an associated time frame. When triggered by the level designer, it immediately saved the game, but kept the save off to the side, not available as a save game to load from. If the player then stayed alive for the specified time frame, then the save would be committed and used as the most recent autosave. This allowed level designers to put an autosave at a reasonable place or time in an arena, specify a time, like 30 seconds, and if the player was still alive for 30 seconds, the autosave would be used.
Wow.
Soundscapes. In Half-Life 1, ambient sounds were placed by hand and then individually tuned. For Half-Life 2, we wanted more ambient sounds in our environment with higher quality and less manual effort for
Okay. Can I get a kid? Can I get a kid? Can you make him laugh forever? That's literally one of my favorite effects. Watching like debris get thrown at a wall.
Manhack Matt. We called this guy Manhack Matt. We wanted to give players the sense that hundreds of citizens inhabited the hidden nooks and crannies of City 17. At this point in the game, it had been a while since players had seen a citizen, and we wanted to explain the significance of the Manhacks, which was the first physics-based enemy that we created. In the original concept, there was a video arcade in the city where players could fly Manhacks around to attack virtual citizens. Eventually, players would discover that the Manhacks were real, and so were the citizens. As the Combine occupation became more fleshed out, this idea of a video arcade became an odd fit and eventually fell by the wayside.
Wow.
That was a close call.
Close call.
Thanks for your help.
Yeah, man.
It isn't safe. I'll give you some supplies to keep you going.
His little pot. His little pot. And kettle. My pot and kettle. Okay. Oh shit. Okay. Ah, okay. My flipping yacht. Steam. It's gonna get me, they're gonna get me. Malignant. Hey. Concubine. Student watches porn. Gets naked. Okay. Student watches slop and gets naked. Okay. Shot number 1. Okay. Then the comeback's gonna come out. He's gonna get the surprise of his life. The surprise. Right here. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Go. Go. Yeah. How can you do this to me? And I must Naira. That's when I'll find the field of voice. The field of voice. Try and look at you. Eyes. That's when I find the field of voice. Oh my god. Urban combat. This is a real urban combat. Watch for the steam. Can't forget Down Under. Blades. Come on, Bog. Bog. Come on, dog. Okay. I was trying to remember the up and down button for swimming. Now they're shooting me. Oh shit. That's right. Whoa. This dark room. This dark red room. Hickman horror game or something. Oh my god! I love Half-Life.
Explosive Barrel Factory. This room, filled with an absurd number of exploding barrels, inspired some good-natured debate within the team around how far to push the plausibility of our world. Frankly, one exploding barrel is probably too many in regards to realism. In the real world, barrels really shouldn't explode, even if you were to shoot them.
Press E. Press E. And that's when I look and I find a piece of it. There's... okay, I'm not going down. Right here. Hello? Alright. Let's go. Problem solved. Problem solved. Now for the other puzzle. It took me forever to figure out the first time. It's this little valve. See. But yeah, the swimming puzzle was okay for playtesters. And you got any swimming puzzles? I scratch like my butt. I don't have nothing to say, huh? Wait, I'm still oh yeah, right. Now that that's open. We come over here and boom, ba, ba, boom, pow. Let's go. While I'm down here, and my oxygen's low. When my oxygen's low, I'm gonna climb up.
Rising water.
Tell me about
the floating bridge and wooden spools here introduce the concept of buoyancy as a tool for the player. In this case, it's not really a puzzle. It's just some fun for the player interacting with the physics system. But later, we revisit this gameplay element in the canals to raise a ramp for the airboat.
I remember that part. Vividly. I remember that part. Because at times I look in your eyes. That's where
rendering systems. In the early 2000s, we couldn't afford a general-purpose renderer with the broad capabilities of a modern engine. Instead, CPU, GPU, and memory limitations required highly specific solutions to rendering challenges so we could squeeze every bit of performance out of a player's hardware.
Yeah.
As a result, Half-Life 2 actually has 3 different rendering engines. One for world geometry, another for outdoor terrain, and a third for dynamic entities like characters and objects.
Okay.
These 3 renderers had to support a complicated matrix of features: collisions, ray traces, decals, offline lighting, visibility calculations, and more. On top of that, each renderer needed to support DirectX 7, 8, and 9. The differences among these DirectX versions were significant, often requiring different data storage and rendering approaches. They used different programming languages. Altogether, we essentially had 9 different renderers, each needing unique solutions, and getting them all to look consistent was one of the most challenging tech problems we faced during development.
I can imagine. Jesus Christ. Am I missing something? Hold on. I guess not. Yeah, let's get out of here. No, come on.
GPU Wild West. During development, we faced numerous decisions influenced by our choice of minimum spec, the least powerful CPU and GPU combination that would still deliver a good experience for customers. In the early 2000s, there was far more variety among GPUs than today, with wide differences not only in speed, but in fundamental approaches to rendering. But at the time, we had no real data on the hardware our customers were using. What CPUs and GPUs did they have? How much RAM? Which version of Windows? We reached out to Microsoft hoping they might know answers to questions like, how many DX7 cards are in use? Or DX8? Unfortunately, they didn't have the data either. Realizing we were at risk of making bad decisions without these insights, we developed an analysis tool that allowed players to report their hardware specs to us and integrated it into the early version of Steam. The data was so useful that we decided to make it public, launching the Steam Hardware Survey.
Dynamic shadows. With a focus on character and physics objects, we felt a dynamic shadow system was necessary to render them all in all their glory.
True.
In 2003, GPUs didn't have any dedicated shadow capabilities that they have today, so performance was a tricky problem. Our eventual solution went something like this, running every frame. First, find all the objects that might have shadows in view. Doing this meant figuring out which objects were in the view frustum, or slightly behind it, to catch entities that were off-screen but whose shadows might end up on-screen. Then we'd render a black shadow version of each one of those objects into a single shadow texture. For that render, we'd use the lowest level of detail model for the object to be as fast as possible. Finally, we use the shadow texture to draw each of the shadows into the player's view, darkening the already rendered pixels.
Half-Life 2
We carefully
update.
cut around each shadow in that
Yeah,
shadow
I mean,
texture
it's the,
to ensure that they correctly
it's the
overlay
latest
each other
update
in the case where
for
multiple
Half-Life
shadows
2.
overlap.
So it's the Half-Life
It's neat to
2
look back on how we did these
update.
things, but ultimately we're a lot happier today, where GPU hardware makes it a much more straightforward problem.
Headcrab canisters. Used
These things.
headcrab canisters are seen later in Ravenholm, so we decided to show them here to tell the story of how they're used by the Combine. The story is that the Combine have weaponized Zen fauna to use them against the humans. Burrowed headcrabs was added as a new feature for this section that was expanded into a larger area that is meant to show a citizen shanty that was decimated by the headcrab assault.
Yeah, see that. I can't. I want to some bullets. Here, better. Shoot. Oh. Here, better. Can't do the batter swing there. Better swing. Forget about him. Oh my god. Something fall. I wasn't looking. Problem solved. Hey, it's the best chapter.
Airboat intro. This is where the player gets the first vehicle of the game, the airboat. We wanted to create a safe space for players to practice driving the airboat for as long as they wanted before moving on. The arena is sprinkled with opportunities for jumps and tricks, and we filled the arena with toxic slime to keep players in the airboat longer, while preventing them from leaving the vehicle behind and progressing forward on foot.
Climb on in. Fire her up.
That's kind of cool.
Combinatorial shader explosion. Rendering became much more complex during Half-Life 2's development with the addition of hardware shaders, small bits of code controlling how each pixel on a surface should render. In 2003, shaders were far more limited than today. Half-Life 2 era shaders lacked conditionals and had severe code size restrictions. This meant no if-else branching logic to adjust based on different conditions, and no large shaders with broad feature sets. Also, compiling shaders as needed was just too slow to be useful, so we had to pre-compile them. To work within these limits, we had to compute every possible shader combination and store each one individually as its own shader. For example, if a shader affected a surface based on a single light source, we'd need another shader version for 2 lights, another for 3, and so on. And it was combinatorial. If that shader also supported a normal map, we'd need 2 versions per light, one with a normal map and one without. With features like texture blending, vertex tinting, specular highlights, alpha testing, and various other light types, directional point and spotlights, our shader count exploded. By release, we had thousands of individual shaders. Shortly after, we released Lost Coast, adding HDR support, which doubled the shader count again. Once compiling shaders on the local developer's machine started taking too long, we switched to distributing the shader compiles over the entire network using VMPI. We also had a dynamic shader compilation mode that was useful for developing shaders that gave fast turnaround at the expense of frame rate hitching when a shader had to be compiled.
Fighting motion sickness. In early playtesting, many players developed motion sickness while driving the airboat.
Abandon your value.
While trying to fix this, we discovered several factors that contributed to it. We found that reducing the intrusion of the airboat into the view helped, so we made several passes on the model to pare it back. Maintaining a consistent frame rate helped as well, so it was important to keep an eye on performance in these sections.
True. Best. There he is. There he is. Can I steal a kiss? Can you make it last forever? Can I steal a kiss? Can you make it last 10 ever?
Airboat time. Finding the right balance between vehicle time and time on foot took some work. Driving at full speed propelled players through the world quickly, and in early playtests we felt that players were missing out on exploring and taking in the game's detail. Exploration and world examination are core values of Half-Life, so we didn't want the vehicle to eliminate that. To address this, we added periodic spots where players could get out and explore small pockets of dense detail. Additionally, as the physics system evolved, we were learning new ways to use it. These spots off the airboat let us introduce an element of discovery around physics, like dropping crates into the water or combining barrels to raise a ramp. This gave players a chance to interact with water and physics in different ways.
Did you see that scary boat? That super scary boat. Hey, damage. Major fracture. At least a freaking sitting there. I'm gonna do a test. I'm gonna listen to my stream real quick. Yeah, I've come to the conclusion that the game's too loud. The game is too loud. Audio. Way down. Okay. Should I better now? Not this guy.
Hey down there!
Hello.
Floating supplies. In the alpha
Yarr.
playtest, the canals were sprinkled with floating supply crates that players could smash with the airboat to collect the supplies inside.
Tell me
The
about it.
mechanics were somewhat gamey, but helped keep the flow of the gameplay going, allowing the player to resupply on the go.
Shit.
To help make the premise
I mean,
more
shoot.
plausible, we wanted to tell the story of how the floating crates ended up so conveniently placed along the player's path. This scene of the citizens dropping supply crates helps sell that fiction, while also making the canals feel more alive. It also made players feel more heroic and important to be helped by so many supporting characters.
I hear it. I hear you. Wait, how do I... Was it... Okay. So was the path not closed? This is the... I guess I'm tripping. Let's see. Good. I hurt my legs. Come on. Okay, number 1, number 2, and number 3. Okay. That's good. That's pretty good. Let's go, girls. Yay! Let's go, girls. Alright. You guys noticed too? No quick save. No quick save at all. Sorry, I'll... Oh my god. Can I get up there? Thank you. Over here.
Zombie surprise. There's a little bit of a cheeky jump scare in this sewer pipe. Players wander in here, all focused and curious, and then an underwater zombie pops up, almost always scaring the pants off of playtesters. One fell completely out of their chair, and we mark that moment as a success.
I'm kind of glad there was a speech bubble back there. That was really fun. Look at that. Aw. Whoa. It's so flipping cool. Come on. Come on, man. Yeah. This little water segment, it's gonna be over. It's gonna be over in an instant. You're actually gonna be like surprised. Okay. Let me turn the game volume down again, just a little bit. Turn music volume 2. Okay. Whoa. Okay, let's go. We're basically doing a speed run, so we gotta hurry up. I already forgot where I was going. Great. This is perfect though. Check it out. There we go. Oh my god. Come on.
Grenade intro. We conceived of this Combine base as both a training area and a playground for grenades.
Okay.
Here, an infinite supply crate to signal that it's safe for players to use grenades.
It's the face, it's the face.
Go wild.
I can farm up again, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay.
Here uses extensive markup to direct the soldier AI.
Does this count as music? Music volume? Apply.
Towards cover and provide
It
good
is.
opportunities for players to make use of grenades.
Excuse me.
At the end of the area, the same infinite grenade technique helps players resolve the turret placement, as a direct assault is a lot more difficult if you don't. A bright red light and a particle trail were added to the grenades, making it significantly easier for players to follow their trajectory, whether they're throwing them or dodging one from a Combine soldier.
Oh shit. I can shoot. Oh my god, come on, just throw a grenade in there.
Air resistance. One important feature we had to add to our physics engine for Half-Life 2 was air resistance.
That's so.
At the time, physics engines would typically implement a general damping feature for slowing objects down as they moved, but this merely removes energy in a symmetric way. In order to create a more believable motion, we decided to simulate air resistance instead. This allowed us to get asymmetric behavior, where the amount the object was slowed by moving through the air was different depending on how much surface area of the object was facing the direction of movement or rotation.
You're joking.
This feature was key to making explosions and objects thrown by the gravity gun look believable.
No way.
Fast-moving and fast-spinning objects are among the most expensive things to simulate in Half-Life 2's physics engine, so air resistance also improves CPU performance in cases like explosions. It is also key to presenting different materials and masses of objects. More dense objects can push aside air more easily, and this is visible. Having this effect in the simulation helps make the difference in density between cardboard boxes and wooden planks more apparent, and really helps make the objects in Half-Life 2's world much more convincing.
So there's air resistance? There's no way. Because I'm like, oh, the heavier the object is and like just the slower it'll be in the air. No, I guess. I need to listen to that again. It's crazy. One more time. One more good explosion. That's a good explosion. Did I miss something? Commentary mode. My health's like low. Why don't we get some health? Yeah. Good. That's my sucking up noise. Can I get a kiss? Can you make it last forever? And ever, and ever, and ever.
Puzzle layers. Because players...
What?
Puzzle layers.
Oh.
Because players are often totally unaware of the designer's intent, which we think is a good thing, they tend to respond in all kinds of surprising ways to our puzzles. Even seemingly simple puzzles can see countless failures along the way to success. That was the case with this puzzle to open the canal gates, which required many layers of hints and cues. The sparking wheel communicates that this is where someone would normally open the gate, but some other method is needed. A few crows draw the player's eye towards the solution, in this case, a bundle of girders on a pendulum. As grenades have been thoroughly introduced, we originally wanted players to throw one to break the wooden support structure, but that wasn't obvious enough. We added exploding barrels as a much clearer clue. But even after solving the puzzle, some players didn't realize that the gates were now open, which led them to endlessly explore the base interior looking for another exit. So we had to remind them of their original problem, the broken gate. We added smoke, the alarm klaxon, and a spinning light, and it was then that we finally started seeing reliably good results in playtesting.
There we go. Haven't died once, by the way. Nice. Let's pick all that shape. Let's pick it up. Here we go. Let's pick it up. Hell yeah, let's pick it up. There. That was my one streamer moment, and no one was here to see it. So good, honestly. Wait.
Metrocop strafing. The initial design of the airboat levels aimed to challenge players with tight maneuvers under pressure from Metrocops. The Metrocop strafing fire pattern was meant to make players slalom around the shots as they sped through, but in a review process, internally known as Overwatch, some playtesters felt frustrated being shot at without a way to retaliate. They wanted the airboat to feel powerful and unstoppable. Based on that feedback, we refocused the levels to emphasize empowerment over challenge, shifting from dodging attacks to fast-paced combat, speed, and busting through barriers.
Oh. 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 Right. Making the most of it though. Airboat sucks. Yeah. Look, can't do much about it, but honestly, it just my main issue with it is it takes too long. Wait, a green pipe? A green pipe. There. Like I remember thinking like, okay, I finally got my guns, I got my crowbar, and I have to like drive a boat. What? And then yeah, and then it just takes too long. But I mean, apart from that, honestly, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad, really. I mean, it could be like Naruto. Can't believe they wanted this to be longer. They did? Really?
3D Skybox.
Whoa.
We've always needed to render a
Listen,
world that
listen.
feels larger than our map limitations allow.
True.
In Half-Life 1, we used a cube map texture to let players see beyond the playable area. But in Half-Life 2, we wanted that view into the larger world to be dynamic, not just a static texture. Our map size limitation was
first
about
game.
half a mile in each dimension. But we realized we could create a much larger outer world if we stored it at a reduced scale. So, we invented what we called the 3D Skybox. The 3D Skybox is a small box hidden within the actual game map containing geometry at 1/16th scale.
Interesting.
Inside it, a reference point corresponds to a matching origin in the main map. Then, when we render the space beyond the playable area, we
Love
use the
to
geometry
ski
from the 3D
7.
Skybox, positioned by that reference point.
When was the last time you went
16
skiing?
times. Getting the light
Be
and
honest.
fog to blend seamlessly
Be honest
across
with
the
us.
transition from the main map to the skybox presented some sticky challenges,
Commentary
but it
notes.
worked.
You
The
know
result
my
made the
white
world feel
ass
significantly
is
larger
sad
and more immersive
and
than it had in
listening.
Half-Life 1.
That's it. I'm done. A commentary note is going, sit and learn. Hold on. I have to show you this, okay? But right now I'm recording with my iPad. I have access. I'm so sorry. I have access to the chat through my phone here because I don't know how to. I don't know how to do it through OBS. So yeah. So if you ever see me like looking like this, it's because I'm looking at the chat. Okay. I've never skied. Okay. My fault. My fault for assuming. Honestly, my fault. That's good. Right there.
357 intro. The Magnum, unlike the basic handgun with its slower rate of fire, is meant to be fired in a more measured, calculated way, dealing catastrophic damage to your target. Earlier versions of the Magnum had a bit of random dispersion, which we felt fit the heft and the less sensitive trigger pull of a larger pistol. However, this led to anticlimactic moments where players would carefully line up a shot only to miss due to the accuracy penalty. To address this, we made the first bullet perfectly accurate, with each subsequent shot becoming less accurate as you blasted away.
Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna look at this blood splat. Wow, so it actually moves the crosshair. Like, doesn't because in Watch Dogs, okay, you can shoot as much as you want. Your gun's gonna go. It's gonna come back to that center point. But you're right though. Revolver is goated.
VMPI. During development,
The
we became
MPI.
increasingly frustrated with our slow gameplay iteration speeds, mainly because map compilation, needed to pre-compute lighting and visibility, was taking hours.
True.
Computers in 2000 were far slower than today's, and they had only a single CPU core.
Don't
each.
waste ammo, no.
Inspired
It's
by
not being
SETI
wasted.
at Home, a
Don't worry.
distributed program that used PCs worldwide to analyze radio waves for signs of extraterrestrial life, we built VMPI, which was our own distributed system that spread the map compilation process across many office
VMPI.
computers. Today, these kinds of distributed systems run on giant GPU clusters, but at the time we just ran it on all the computers in our office. To deal with how our lighting code was evolving as quickly as our maps were, VMPI also distributed new exe files to everyone's computer too. In retrospect, this was a pretty terrifying security concept, just awfully bad. It's like the stuff of nightmares for IT folks. Because we were sending an arbitrary executable to all of our work PCs, and they would just run it. It was absolute madness. But it worked
Yeah.
for us, and it did significantly increase
Imagine
our map
running
iteration
Sonic.exe.
speed, and as a result,
Anyway.
it ended up being a crucial tool.
I'm still laughing at your comment, by the way. My white ass is sitting and listening. Probably the funniest thing I've heard all night. Oh, we're actually good. It's a lot of ammo, but it's okay. It's okay, mostly. Hello. Room cleared. Does it get more precise when you crouch in Half-Life 2? I thought it was just a CS thing. Honestly, I don't know. It makes me feel more secure, so I crouch. But you may be right. I may just be doing it for no reason. Ooh. There's gonna be a guy right there. Let's try it out, actually. I'm gonna waste a clip. But it's okay. Okay, let's try it out, let's try it out. Let's look at this wall here. Or this empty plain wall. Okay. And then we're gonna... Okay. So honestly, that takes up like the whole crosshair. So that's pretty good. That's a good test. Okay, let's try it on this wall now. I'm gonna crouch now. It's literally the same. It's the same, there's no difference. So I'm crouching for no reason. Or is there a reason? It's basically the same. Man, I honestly was hoping they would announce like Half-Life 3 or Episode 3 speaking on how it's in 20 years. Hey, apparently it's coming soon. Apparently soon. So, you know. Hello, hello. Oh, I think it's my earphones plugging out. I mean, honestly, personally, I was not expecting a Half-Life 3 announcement. Like, I didn't have any feeling that it was gonna happen today. So, and I'm usually kind of pessimistic on these sorts of things, but I believe Half-Life 3 is sooner than we think. At least, okay. No more ammo waste. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just die, please.
Mounted
Let's
guns.
see.
The mounted guns were added here to help train the player on the gun's effectiveness against the attack helicopter for the final battle in the reservoir. This was necessary because up to this point, the helicopter was invulnerable to the player's weapons, and we had to give some indication that it could be harmed with larger weaponry. This was only somewhat effective in playtest due to the amount of pressure the player was under at the moment, which led us to developing the particle effects and sounds that would sell to the players that they
Make
were
new
really
maps or
doing
something like they did for the Half-Life 4. They made new maps. Wicked cool. Or maybe a Half-Life rework. The fans will take care of it. They'll take care of it. I don't see why Valve would rework one of their games, and I'm sure to them it works perfectly fine. But then again, they talk about all the regrets they have or stuff they wish they could put in the game, so hey, who knows. But if they went through and like changed that much, it's basically like a Half-Life like remake. Like it would be the same game. This is also about where I started telling myself, like, first time I played this boat section, it's going on for a while. Honestly, I'm going back to bed so we can peace, brother. Peace. Peace. You go to sleep. Go to sleep for real. Oh, black skybox. Black skybox and then oh. What is this? Oops. Hey.
Helicopter bombing run. This is another example of us creating movement hazards while driving the airboat. The helicopter attempts to stay in front of the player when dropping bombs.
Attempts.
As the player backtracks, it switches to hovering and turns to attacking the player. In one playtest, a bomb just so happened to drop between the pipe seams, creating a pretty cinematic moment. The playtester had a positive reaction, so the team decided to script it so it happened every time. This process has become part of our organic design process.
Between the pipe
Every so
seam.
often, a cool thing randomly happens in a playtest. We find a way to make it happen more reliably.
I need to pipe seam. This is coming out. Hey, what game would you guys like us to watch before? I'm curious. Like that one? I see. Though I'd say Black Mesa was pretty much a Half-Life 1 revamped. I mean, you're right. It was quite literally like a complete redoing of the game. So much so that I don't even think they're the same game anymore. Oh my god. I think we're reaching my favorite part of the Airboat sequence soon. It's not back there, is it? Yeah. Excuse my shit bud dragon. Gotta go up there too. Use the secret. Come on, baby. Whatever. Hey, hey. I don't know if you noticed, guys, but there's been no saving yet. There's been no quick saves. I mean, there's been auto save, okay, but not through my control. Okay, so far I've saved nonce. A total of nonce times. I don't think I ever used this the way it was meant to be used. I do this, and then... But, like, why? I think it's just... I don't know. Does anyone know the use of this thing? Because normally I just do this. I just jump off. Like, how I feel like it's meant to be. But I don't know.
Smokestack collapse. When making a cinematic action game like the first Half-Life, We'd always wanted to make some big, spectacular destruction sequence, but we were never quite able to do anything like that. Half-Life 2's physics introduced a system for breaking physics small objects, such as crates, into pieces, which provoked the idea of doing something much bigger. We took a leap and tried breaking a smokestack into pieces as it fell. So we experimented with the masses until it felt better, refined the model, and added lots of smoke and audio to sell the effect. And there we had it. We had our big spectacular destruction moment. Ultimately, our physics made the sequence just barely possible in a way that maybe seems quaint by modern standards, but felt really awesome at the time. Because the simulation was unique every time we ran it, we had to take steps to avoid completely blocking the player's path with the big chunks of debris. The success of this sequence whet our appetites for the much higher fidelity cinematic physics destruction effects next seen in episode 2.
You heard of Half-Life VR AI? Yes, I have. By, his name's like on the tip of my tongue. Lane Radio TV. Yes. I've heard of it. I never watched it, though. I never watched it. I really want to play VR Half-Life. I mean, like, I played Half-Life Alyx. I mean, like, VR Half-Life 2. That would be sick. That'd be very sick. There we go. Okay, nice.
Washing machine puzzle. We created the washing machine physics puzzle late in development, after playtesting indicated that players needed some downtime from the relentless pressure from the helicopter. Pacing contrasts like this can accentuate the high moments by resetting the player's emotional state and warding off
Displacements. 2. Once the initial terrain system was up and running, we expected level designers to use it for outdoor spaces. Instead, they began experimenting, adding detail in unexpected places.
Like what?
They used the subdivided quads on the top of walls to create ruined edges, rounded off street curbs, and even attempted to make pipes. This met with varying success since the terrain system was designed for landscapes, not architectural detail.
Oh.
So we returned to the code mines, transforming the height-based terrain system into a fully 3D
I mean, you can play VR
system.
Half-Life and Half-Life
Now,
2, but you need
instead of only
Gary's
moving
mod
grid
and a lot of
points up and
stuff that my
down,
fried
designers can
brain
move them in any
ain't able
direction.
to explain.
This allowed them to add extra detail to all kinds of
That's
surfaces
actually good to
using
know.
blended textures to smooth
I don't have
transitions
access
between
to
the displacement quads
VR
and
right
the BSB
now,
geometry.
but
However, this required
That's good to know.
additional tech work to ensure consistent lighting between the two renderers, or those edges would have been noticeably mismatched. But with all this done, the level designers seemed satisfied, and we naively thought that this time it really would be enough. Displacements. 3. With the general displacement system in hand, level designers didn't stop at adding detail to the world and returned to their original goals of building large-scale outdoor sections. This led to another round of updates to balance performance, ensuring the system could handle both fine detail and larger ground terrain. Texturing had to improve as well, especially to support complex structures like overhanging cliffs
Tiger.
that weren't possible with the original
Tiger
height-based
Enjoyer.
system.
Is your brain
Designers,
fried
never
because
one
of
to
work?
rest on their laurels,
Where's your
also
brain
started using displacements to create caves and tunnels. While these additions look great,
Which
they
one?
required
I don't know.
even more technical adjustment. Eventually, we managed to wrangle the competing requirements of all the ways that displacements were being used, and they shipped in large sections of our game world. Displacements. 1. After Half-Life 1 shipped, our level designers and artists wanted a better solution for outdoor environments, so we built the first version of our terrain system. It was based on subdivided quads. To visualize
Wayne
this,
did cook
imagine a flat square divided
with
into a grid,
Half-Life,
where each point on the
VR
grid
and
can be
Half-Life
moved up
Alyx,
or down.
but the gnome is
Level
too
designers could lay
aware.
out multiple squares and then use a paintbrush tool to shape hills
Yeah,
and
a
valleys
lot of
by
people enjoy
adjusting
that
the grid
series.
points. For
Series.
rendering, we used a special blended texture, which combined two different textures.
I
Each
wanna
grid
watch it
point
too, but I
specified
feel-
how much of each texture to use, allowing
There
smooth
are
transitions
times where
between
Wayne
surfaces
seems
like
like
sand,
stressed.
grass, dirt, and gravel.
And it's like stresses
This
me
type
out.
of terrain system wasn't unusual in game engines at the time.
I feel the stress
and we
with it.
naively thought it
You
would
see,
be
I'm
enough
an
for our game
I'm an
designers.
empath. I'm an empath, and whenever I'm done with the empath joke, my brain
Show you what you're up against.
O's IQ. Okay, now no need to be so rude to yourself. Even though it's a hilarious joke, though. My brain owes IQ.
Gestures. Each of our characters had a library of simple animations called gestures, which we could easily layer on top of other.
Can't wait for Half-Life VR 2 AI to come
While
out
originally
next year.
planned as a production
It's a new one.
sequence to allow us to reuse animations throughout the game, we found they actually had more utility than that. Humans often repeat certain movements, and these can be markers of a specific personality. As a result, our gestures library ended up capturing the essence of each character, helping to unify our animation team's understanding of who those characters were. This made it much easier for
That's
our animators
so
to share any one
cool.
character's workload among themselves.
I guess.
which
I wasn't really
production
listening, to be
often
honest. Just that maybe, I think what he said was that some characters use more of an animation than others, and that can like convey personality and stuff. This is what I got. Yeah, it was either gonna come out this year or next year. Okay, well, hey. More power to him. Can't wait for it to come out.
Airboat Changeup. We heard from the playtesters that they wanted more varied gameplay from the airboat. Up until this point of the game, the player had no real way to fight back against the helicopter and other enemies, so it felt right to introduce a new weapon and in turn deliver a pacing change and set the stage for what would come next. In the subsequent areas, we added target practice to acquaint people with their new weapon. Extra physics force on the airgun projectiles meant targets
Tiger,
would
you
line and make it feel way more powerful.
you watched Germa
than any
985?
loadout. Even then, when
He's
it
got
came
a funny
to
guy.
testing combat against the helicopter, a lot of testers still thought it was invincible.
Oh, you're right.
They hadn't noticed our efforts to illustrate that it was taking damage from the Combine-mounted guns earlier.
And
To
you
get
go, oh
over
my
this,
god.
we did the most obvious thing.
It's
Put
closed.
the helicopter directly
There you go.
outside the tunnel, which you make it extremely clear that you
There
can
you-
and should shoot it. And it worked.
Dr. Coomer, Tommy, and Bernie were my favorite Half-Life. Fair. I'll keep that in mind, Dr. Coomer. You know, I think I watched, like, I don't know, maybe half an hour. I know it's a long series, though. They go through the entire game. Half-Life 1. But I did get some part where they're talking about Dr. Coomer and stuff like that. That series had fan art, didn't it? It had fan art. That's crazy. It's okay. Wayne. Hey, man, just to pump out that good content. We're seeing his face, or his name on like Tumblr back in like 2012. He was doing numbers on there. Also, the actors did really good though. Yeah. I have some memory. They did play along quite well with all of Wayne's antics, I think. Wayne Radio TV. Oh, we're actually good. Time to get out.
Skybox time of day. The skybox in fog color changes incrementally during this chapter.
Yeah.
This is meant to visually represent the passage of time as the player journeys through the canals and the chapter.
True.
Two fog color values in opposite directions help sell the illusion of the oblique angle of the sun. You can see it getting closer to sunset by this point. This culminates in the helicopter combat arena with the sun setting and Ravenholm visible in the skybox.
G-Man. You saw him. Here we go. This is my favorite part of the canals. This little entrance. It's so quiet. So quaint.
A Half-Life game is an ultimately linear
experience.
But we're always looking for ways to break up the player path and create non-linearity at level scale. This lambda cache, replaced with a zombie and head crab ambush, was entirely optional and built only to add some of that non-linearity to this section of travel through the canals.
I think that's why I like it so much. Just come here and it's like, there's nothing much going on. There's the wind. Oh, you hear that? Oh, they have wind chimes going. Where are the wind chimes? Sorry, the little freak. Yeah, that. It freaked me out because that's like the interloper sound. It's the sound when the interloper man shows up. And then you know you're in trouble. Okay, hold on. I need to get launched in the air. Hold on. Can I fit in this? Wind chime. Wayne's idea for it was Half-Life 1, but instead of the a Black Mesa staff being helpless, it was Gordon being helpless and kind of going insane. Oh. That is what it feels like. I feel like I watched more of the God, the interloper is creepy. Dude, I thought the interloper thing was real. I'm like a grown man. I thought it was real. They're like, oh, you can interlope into the game console. And then like a bunch of weird stuff starts happening, a bunch of weird demos. And I'm like, okay, that's like semi-believable. And then they had like the VR like view. I forget what type of cutscene that was, but like, yeah, like I'm like, oh, it's like in my mind, I'm going like, oh, it's like an old version of like VR. It was like VR before it was like implemented. So that's, I mean, I couldn't explain why the demos would happen. And then it got to the Half-Life like 1 part of the video where he's like typing an interlope, and then the Umbrella Man shows up and he's like, you know, towards the camera. Anyway, I was seriously freaked out, and I think it was at that moment where I realized, like, okay, this is probably not real. But yeah, that was my tangent. Went on an old version of Half-Life 2 Ravenholm on the 12th, since that's when he would show up, and I saw the art, bro. You are lying. You're actually lying. And I can't even check it too. It's not that time of year. I'm not downloading some old version. It was just a message to another dev in the files and the stuff in real life. Okay, you're lying when you say that you saw the Interloper Man graffiti. That's actually like, see, that's what gets me about that story. Is like I literally can't tell. Like obviously it's fake. Obviously it's fake, but it's like, I don't know. For me, it's like impossible to tell what's real and not. Because now you're also gonna go AFK real quick. Okay.
Originally started as just an
cheers.
piece of level
Don't worry.
architecture. But during playtesting, we quickly saw how fun it was to slide
Yeah,
an airboat
dude, it
up and
was-
around the slope. So we added
It's
more
just-
elements
it's just
to
hard to
enhance that
tell.
experience.
Because now you're
This
telling me
included
you saw
Metropods
it.
dropping barrels
So
down
obviously
toward the player,
some of it's
and a little
real.
nod to the classic arcade
Some of it's
game,
real in the
Donkey
sense of
Kong.
like there's a a graffiti somewhere maybe. But the interlope command, I don't know. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. Okay, time to kill this guy. No death. Let's go. Let's reload. The infinite gun. Dead. There you go. Easy. Oh yeah, right. Basically. Here. Do that. Okay. The thrill of us. Should I have enough speed? Let's go. Let's go for it. Plenty of speed. Plenty of speed. Let's go. Like, you can see the art and all, but the recording things are the fake bit. Yeah, okay. See, that's why I was so freaked out. Because, like, some of it's real, the graffiti's real. And somehow, you know, someone had to come up with the rest. But yeah, like, I know it's fake. It took me a long time to realize that. But yeah, like, now I know. Like, it's like it's fake. Because there's, like, no way. Imagine if Valve actually programmed some shit. That's what he's gonna do, is crazy attack. Move out the way. Oh my god. The road scene is almost over. Almost done. And I'll have to stop streaming soon. Ay. Craziness. I also have to plug in my webcam. That's what I'm using as a. I have to plug in my iPad. That's what I'm using as a webcam. I'm gonna have to do like a BRB. Pretty sure Zombies Better than Dead saying things like the art can be seen in the files of other games. What? Pretty sure it was just a message from the dead. From dev to dev. Since this thing's like art can be seen in other games. Oh, the part where the developer guy. I'm dead, I died. It's my first time dying. God damn it. I'm pretty sure it's not just a message from the dev since things like, yeah. The part where the interloper goes to the dude in Portal 2 was scary, to be honest. Yes! Dude, that was like the scariest thing. I felt some fear, only like an eldritch thing could muster up in a person. I was like, oh? And it's also the fact that the game's paused. The game is paused, and then the interloper man shows up through the pause, and then freaking like towards the camera and everything. Towards jokes to file leakers. Me. But yeah, at least it's not real, like the demo files. Check it out. This boat is gonna be done. Let's just get it over with. That's right. It's in bullets, babe. I'm so sorry. Interloper done acting like G-Man's boss. Interloper done acting like G-Man's boss. Oh my god. Yeah, the Interloper man is scarier than any characters. Only when he's like going for you. And only when he's coming towards the screen in a scary fashion. Okay. Now I'm gonna go visit the super secret. But first, I'm gonna plug in my iPad. One sec. the thrill of us. And at times I look at you. Promise you do. Hold on. I'm still so mad about the jump scare on the coast part, bro. Oh, where it's like VR? I'm trying to think. Yeah, that was okay. No, that was pretty scary. That was like, that was unneeded. You know what I mean? Okay, hold on, guys. Hold on. Sorry. You guys will be back in just a moment. Okay, plugging you in. There we go. Okay, you're too squished. There we go. There we go. Perfect. I was watching it while going to sleep too. You're actually crazy for that one. Why would you do that? Why would you watch it while going to sleep? Yeah, honestly, there was a bunch of parts that scared me. I think, like at first, just seeing the demos, it was like enough.
Arena exit gate.
To spook me.
The wheel mechanism to raise the exit gate was added specifically to force the player to defeat the helicopter before they can move forward. We often refer to elements like this as gating the player, using design elements to keep them from progressing until they've completed a necessary task. Here, it's quite literally a gate.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna go there soon. I don't even have enough health for that. Okay, one second. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there soon. Go up here now. There's a ladder. I'm so bad. Because I'm like watching horror stuff while going to bed. You crazy guy. I did that once. I was watching like hold on, the title's like honestly a mess. Hold on, the title was why is it so hard to say? You know, the title was like top spooky unexplained Easter eggs, right? So this is basically like the spookiest Easter eggs in gaming, an iceberg. And as I'm falling asleep, I get a dream where I'm still watching the video, but the guy goes on and talks about some game that I thought was real. Like I thought it was a real game that existed. That it was like PewDiePie played it and everything, but apparently not. I was literally just dreaming it the whole time. So I'm now gonna. I have to make that game now. There's no way I can't. The funniest part too about that dream was the name of the game was like Death Valley Sky Mall or like Sky Valley Death Mall. It was one of the two. So when I was like 6 to 8, I wanted so much horror. I watched it, I was too scared to go to sleep. Why would you hey, I'll question. It got so bad to the point where my mom got one of the co-founders of SCP to say there's no way there's someone in my chat right now whose mom had to message like some SCP. I don't know what CB is, okay. Oh, containment breach. A video message to me. What did the video message contain? I need to know. I need to know what it contained. please tell me that you thought like the SCP stuff was real. Please tell me. I need to know. That's what I'm picturing right now. You were like watching SCP stuff as a kid. You're going like, oh my god, this is like really scary. But you keep having to like read up on it because there's a bunch of crazy stuff. Like how there's like, I don't know, a giant fish somewhere. And then you have to have your mom get the SCP guy to like call you, to video message you being like, it's okay, this is all fiction, you can sleep easy now.
Helicopter Final Battle. We designed this.
He was telling me to
as the
stop
arena for
watching the
final
horror
showdown between the
videos, and he
player
even
the Combine
had to
attack
tell me
helicopter.
SCP stuff
The
wasn't
player's chance to
real.
finally eliminate the relentless enemy that's been hunting them since fleeing underground after leaving Climbers
You know
Lab.
what, Tiger, thank you so much for
iterations to get right.
opening with
It
us
needed
tonight.
ample space for
That's
fast-paced
actually
vehicle
a
combat,
hilarious
smooth
thing.
movement flow, with clear path options, and reliable performance.
You had to
We
get
also
the
aimed for real clarity
SCP
suited
guy
combat, striking but
to
not
tell
overly
you
noisy,
personally,
while ensuring
like,
it would
kid,
serve as a
this
memorable
isn't
vista
real.
once the
This
helicopter
is-
is destroyed.
These are all just stories. Okay, but how did you? Okay, I need to know. I need to know from you personally. Okay, did you believe that it was real, and how did you? And if you did, okay, first of all, were there any like suspicions in your mind that it might not be real? And how did you feel once the guy told you it wasn't real? I need to know this. Sorry that I'm asking you so many questions, but that's honestly like the funniest thing I've heard. Like, that's so good. You have to call, be like, young Tiger, you gotta stop watching SCP videos. They're not real. You need to go to bed. Your mom is worried. Okay. The subtitles scared me. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die.
We remember
Hello.
the free man. We are coterminous.
We are coterminous. I don't think I'm gonna make it.
There
believe
is
you.
no distance.
I'm gonna bring this with me.
No false veils.
I instantly lose them. Come on, come on. Gotta stop watching SCP videos. Gotta stop it. They're not real. Look, if anything I can pull from that story is I'm glad your mom knew. Like I'm glad you were opening up with your mom. Where she's like, my son can't sleep. I need to call the SCP guy. Oh wait, there's a whole other thing I was supposed to do. Right. I was horrified for 9 months that SCP-096 was gonna kill me. I felt a lot of stress going away once he told me it wasn't real. Who's SCP-096? I gotta look it up now. I must look it up. Is that the one made of concrete? Be honest. Let's see. 096. I've never seen. Okay, well, I've seen them. I don't know what he's about though. I'm not sure what he's about. Okay. Alright, back to the game. I felt some stress going away. I'm good. Honestly good. I'm glad. Oh man. I guess in a way, I can't judge because I finally stopped being scared of the dark and like my basement in like high school. It's kind of embarrassing. But yeah, no, I would. Hold on. The big shy white guy that kills you for looking at his face. 173 is the nut. I see. He does look like a peanut, doesn't he? But yeah, he kills you for looking at his face. So he's basically a very scary Enderman. Gotcha. He's a super scary Enderman. No, I would watch movies like Saw. I didn't watch a lot of horror movies, okay, for the record. But I watched like Saw. And I was like, I can't go to the city anymore because I might get kidnapped by Jigsaw because I was acting bad or something. I don't even know what I did. It was so bad that Jigsaw would have to like get me one of his traps. But yeah, no, me and horror movies did not mix for a long time. Now all I do is fall over every time I run. What are you talking about? Your physique? You're like too fat to run? Is that what you're saying? That's so hey, that's fine. It's fine. He's basically super tall, skinny white dude, but when you see his face has one particle of dust on it. Yeah, I did get a glimpse of him. Google images. And I feel like I've seen him on like Roblox or something. I guess it's popular. Let's freaking go. Let's go. Please. Yeah. Wow. See, what I did to get rid of my fear of the dark is I would picture whatever monster is like currently scaring me, okay, and like picture him down the steps of the basement, okay, and it's dark. I'll picture him. I'd have a face off with him, and then I feel all this like anger, like this anger within me, and then I'd be like, and I'd like picture myself like grabbing its face and being like, nah, 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 and like, you know, throwing it all over the place. And then for some reason it just calmed me down, and then I wasn't scared of the dark anymore. I ain't really fat. Just like my dog, my knees take a lot of hits. Oh, I see. He's a 2-year-old American Stafford. That's pretty cool.
Airboat wreckage. Originally, we destroyed the airboat in the jump over the dam.
Oh.
So this level opened with the player amidst the wreckage of their beloved airboat. In a team-wide playtest, people felt disappointed to lose the vehicle they had spent so much time in.
True.
There was a lot of internal debate about whether that feeling of loss was a valuable experience or not. Ultimately, we decided to leave the airboat intact to allow for the possibility of the player reuniting with it someday. Some say that airboat is still out there, waiting for you.
Alex and Mossman. In our early plans for Half-Life 2's narrative, we wanted to take on the challenge of doing something less explicitly game-focused.
They do say the knees is the first thing to go. But that's okay. I'm sure there's stuff to strengthen.
Instead,
strengthen them.
Focus on characters and their relationships.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Interesting to explore family as the central dynamic unit of Half-Life 2. The tension between Alex and Mossman emerged from that idea, and we liked it because it felt relatable, something players could understand and empathize with.
I do so envy you working with Eli occupying the air at the top of the field.
Whatever creature I see,
There we go. You can come through now.
I'm sure it can die when I shoot a 12-gauge shotgun at it.
Take you down to Eli right
You're
away.
right.
You would never forgive me if I kept you waiting.
Jeff the Killer has Jeff the Killer ain't got nothing on this.
We could certainly use some help around here. We've covered a lot of ground in the last few months, but things would go so much faster.
Tell me about it, Moss Man. Tell me about it.
Using you in a reliable local.
I feel like shooting at her. I don't have any
Except the Combine still
qualms
has a
towards
factory.
her. Oh,
Eli thinks their portals are
because I can destroy this whole place.
similar to our Claudial model, but
I
they
can't.
have the factor in the dark energy equation.
I can't destroy
They can tunnel through from their
this
unit
classic
tunnel
scenery.
from here.
I cannot.
They're dependent on local transportation. If they knew what we were doing with entanglement,
I got one for Christmas when I was 10. A 12 gauge at 10 years old.
listen to
It's kind
me.
of a
I
go-to
sound like
gift.
a postdoc.
Your
I'm
parents must
so
trust
excited
you.
to think that we'll finally have the chance
A lot
to
of
work
trust
together.
when you own one of those.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I am Southern. I see. See, I kind of assumed you were just like American. I assume most Americans get a gun for their 10th birthday. Okay, that makes sense though. From the South, I guess they're a lot more gun happy over there, or something.
Eli, look who I found.
Eli's lab.
That's South.
We built
That's where
Eli's
Forrest
lab
Gump is
after
from.
Dr. Kleiner's, which gave us a better
He's from the South.
understanding of how to set up and design effective choreo scenes. As a result, we were able to create a more complex scenario with more opportunities for it to respond to
Nah,
the
for
player.
me up here, up north,
Having multiple characters doing their own thing
the only guns that have been around is my
staging
grandpa's.
tricky, and it took a lot of iteration and
hunter.
playtesting
He
to get it to
hunts
run smoothly.
moose.
Our experience showed that
So
generally,
I've got
players
to,
wanted to play
I've got to
along.
hold and shoot.
They just needed enough subtle clues.
I've got to
where we
shoot
wanted them.
like 2 guns
Similarly, if they got
my whole
distracted,
lifetime.
the scene had to gently pause.
Technically
and
got
wait
to
for them
hold
return.
a little bit more, so.
Feel free to look around. Balancing the player's desire to explore with the narrative goals of the
Okay,
scene
come
is
on.
always a challenge.
Come on, addicts.
We wanted the room to be full
Let's
of
get it going,
interesting
get it
things
going.
to look at.
Okay,
Many
I can never
players
figure
wanted to
out,
explore until they were
can
sure
I
they wouldn't
do
be
something with
confused
this?
the character performances.
Eli,
That's why
over
it
here.
was important for Eli to tell the player to look around midway through the scene.
True.
It signaled that it was
We want to
What is
put
this?
this dense chunk of visual story here because it's the place the game is
Look
most
at me, Gordon.
explicit at telling players to
How's-
explore
how's this
space. Even though its
How's this,
primary
Gordon?
job is world building,
Gordon, I
we
love
still
you.
take strides to highlight
And he goes,
the
"Eh?"
relationship
He
between
goes,
Eli and Breen,
he goes,
giving context to the world's central
he goes,
conflict.
Gordon, I love you. I love you, Gordon. He goes, you want to fuck my daughter? Okay, that's enough. Bad joke.
Oh, Gordon. The Vortigaunt said you were here. I can't believe you made it so quickly on foot.
I believe he broke your record.
Well, he earned it. I guess you proved you can handle yourself out there.
Nothing Gordon
Yep,
can't
yep.
handle, with the possible exception of you.
Dad, please.
She's got a tight ass, doesn't she, Gordon? I'm trying to. I can't do his voice. Gordon, come here.
This, Gordon.
Take a look at this, Gordon. Gordon. He's like, take a look at this. He's like, no. What do you think? Oh, hey, Tiger, if you're still in here. Is it true that, like, 90% of Southerners call all soft drinks Coke? They'll be like, can I get a Pepsi Coke? Can I get a Pepsi Coke, please? Can I get a Dr. Pepper Coke? Do they say that? Do they actually? Can I get a Dr. Pepper Coke, please?
Capacity of the Combine thyristor.
Dr. Pepper. I'll take a Dr. Pepper Coke, please.
No, not at all. It was a calculation.
Can I get a can I get a 7-Up Coke, please?
As well as installing it.
Can I get a 7-Up Coke, please?
Sometimes I think you deliberately.
I'll take a 7-Up Coke.
Alex,
I'll take a Coca-Cola.
why don't you take Gordon along and
I'll
give
take a
him
Pepsi
some
Coke.
practice?
Hugs and pickups. Sometimes even little things can be a nightmare to get working. For example, getting a character to hug another character, or even more simply, just to pick up an object from a table, can cause a lot of issues. Even worse, in our dynamic environment, where the characters and objects aren't in preset positions, and the player is running around getting in the way, these require a level of synchronization that can be quite tricky.
Probably thinking
Get
of,
made
I've
harder
never
because
seen
humans
someone
handle
ever
them without
call
thinking.
soda a Coke.
As you're moving
Probably
to
thinking
the
about the
table to pick up a
Alabama
cup, you're doing all
motherfuckers.
kinds of preparation with your body.
I
to
guess
get
I
your
guess
feet
the
and hands in the
South
right
does
position, to be
encapsulate
allowed to do it
a
comfortably.
large portion of the
Everything
U.S.,
ready
doesn't it?
right when you get there. If you're moving in to hug somebody,
You've never
you're
heard
both
someone
doing it at the
call
same
it
time, adjusting constantly
call a
based on
soda
each
a
other's movement.
Coke. Damn. Okay, so
To put these features to work
you're somewhere
the
else
game
then.
involved
Okay.
a lot of synchronization work.
Still the South though.
Making characters aware of each other and the world.
Mossman.
Okay.
Judith Mossman was originally based on a character.
No, I saw a
planned
video
for a section of Half-Life
about
1.
Coca-Cola,
That section was cut from
and
the
that was
base
like
game
one of
and reused
the parts I remember.
but without the character.
That
We consider her
somewhere in the
most
South, I'm
complex
guessing
character in
Alabama,
Half-Life 2. We knew we'd be walking a
they
tightrope
call
with how the player felt about
basically
her
yeah,
even before
all
we
soft
discussed
drinks.
because the player's
Coke.
trusted sources don't agree.
I'll take a
Eli
Pepsi
likes
Coke.
her, but Alex doesn't.
Pepsi Coke, please.
We recognized there was a limit to how much complexity.
She better not. She better not be doing that. She better not be evading our taxes. Okay.
Eye shader.
Excuse me.
Another critical part of getting character faces to be convincing was in the eyes.
Uh-huh.
Humans are great at reading eyes. There's a part of your brain dedicated to it, down to knowing where somebody is looking based on the reflections on the eyeballs. But there are all kinds of subtleties that matter.
Alabama is like that one very
Eyes aren't
weird
actually
cousin.
spheres. Eyelids get
And
distorted
it's
by
very
the cornea
awkward.
moving around underneath.
Is that so?
Eye movement can increase the odds of blinking.
How's
Eyes don't
how
actually
can that
line
be?
up directly behind the pupil. They're
Tell me.
shifted slightly.
I need this Alabama lore.
All these little details might feel small or unnoticeable, but the absence hurts the believability of
I'm
the
an
character.
Alabama fellow.
We worked on eyes for a long time, iterating our
I'm
eyeball
young
model
and-
feature set little by
That's actually
little.
not a nice
Some
song. I
things
shouldn't
required
say it.
external interfaces, like what things in the environment
Oh,
were interesting to
oh my
look
God.
at. But others were automatic, at a subconscious level in the
Oh my
AI,
God.
like blinking.
Boom.
It's a requirement, but one that's subtly confusing if it's
Yeah,
wrong.
so I need to come up here.
Eye reflections had a
go
particularly
here.
large impact. They're ultimately a tiny amount of real estate on the screen, but the difference they made was enormous. We knew we were finally done when we reached the point where
They
with our
like
eye shader
incest.
Off, a character looked like a doll.
That would make it
human-like,
very
but
weird.
unconvincing in some way that
wouldn't
was
it?
hard to describe. But when we turned it on,
They
suddenly
like
it felt like a human
incest.
was looking at us.
That's crazy. They may like incest, but they got that classic Sweet Home Alabama. Where skies are blue. Incest Alabama. Okay, They're gonna talk about how this thing is impossible to score.
Risk. Looking back on Half-Life 2 now, 20 years later, it's sobering to reflect on how terrifying it was throughout much of the development.
Yeah.
Game development is hard. You never really get what you'd like to have, which is be able to validate risk before you start to pile more on top of it. For example, our facial animation technology, it took probably 3 or 4 years of work before we were confident it was actually going to work. But we couldn't wait until then.
3 to
In that
4
first
years.
year, we immediately started making all kinds of other choices in our game design, our asset production, and our other technologies, all based on the assumption that our facial animation technology was going to work in the end, from a quality and performance standpoint. If it hadn't,
Adrian Shepard is basically
those
Gordon
other choices
Freeman,
wouldn't have worked either.
but Marine
The
and
same
Pipe
risk
Wrench.
profile is true of other large choices.
Oh
we
yeah,
make.
right. Adrian Shepard.
We can't wait. We just have to build.
When you said
Hope
Adrian
that our
Shepard, I was
guesses will be
thinking
true
of
years
Commander
from now.
Shepard from Mass Effect, even though I've never played it. But I did play Adrian Shepard this year, yeah. I had lots of fun. It was really funny too because they have a giant like monster battle as a boss fight. And I was playing Borderlands 1 at the time, and that game also finishes with a giant monster boss fight. So, made me happy to see Gearbox still in the element. Did he throw the ball at me? I was not listening. Hold on. Hello? Dog. Dog. Oh. Dog, thanks. Here you go, dog. Okay, you didn't catch it. Yes, dog. Oh. have known better. Oh, it's this dog's little dog house. I get to put a little Matwis in here. He gets to go. Okay. Where'd your ball go? Idiot.
Okay, Gordon, let's try something else. Dog, throw something bigger.
Throw something bigger. I want that Taktua. Oh, I can go in the van. Yes. This is that true level of freedom. It's okay, dog. I can get you another bowl. I can get you another bowl, pole. Dog's doghouse better be better than Night of the Apartments in NYC. I mean, you're not wrong, I don't think. Look, it has the roof and a bed. Already better than, yeah, 90%. Oh, there's that. Oh, see? Okay, so see, guys? There's, you know, this part here, but they never rendered it. They never rendered it. Because they don't expect you to go back there.
Moving the gravity gun. When the gravity gun was first prototyped, we planned to give it to the player midway through the game. But as playtesting progressed, we saw the strength of its design and realized the gravity gun, and more importantly, the ability to launch saw blades at zombie faces, needed to come earlier. That meant Eli's lab also needed to move earlier too. It was a significant change, but it was crucial to Half-Life 2's success. It serves as a good reminder that storytelling and gameplay are intertwined, and neither can always take priority. They have to work together.
Hurry, now! Tear it apart if you have to. Just get it open!
Come on, dog.
That's enough, dog.
Please, dog, I need this.
Come on, Gordon.
Eli's kind of homeless. Kind of with Alice. I want to help out.
Gordon, you need to get out of here. I can't leave my father. Dog, take Gordon to the Ravenholm tunnel, then circle around and try to meet up with me. Hurry!
Dog? Okay, I think I'm gonna cut off the zombie in half and then call it even, Steven Seagal. We don't go to Ravenholm.
As we finished up our work on Ravenholm, we couldn't shake the
Wait,
feeling that
wait,
the
wait.
transition
I know it's not that
from
time of
Eli's
year.
lab
It's
just
not that time of
wasn't
day.
working. It was far too abrupt. Eli's lab connected directly to the streets of the town where you'll be shortly, and the section you're standing in didn't exist. We had just made this promise at the end of Eli's lab: we don't go there anymore. And we liked the overall build-up we'd created, but when the player got to Ravenholm, they were immediately dropped into combat with zombies without any room for tension building. So we built this section and the subsequent tight corridors to address that in a way we were happy with. We slowed the pacing, focused on art and lighting, and got you ready to experience why we don't go to Ravenholm anymore.
Can I see the zombies? Prima tu ahí.
Ravenholm gameplay focus. After watching many playtests of Ravenholm, we knew the core gameplay of the level revolved around the gravity gun and physics. Once equipped with that knowledge, we felt we could appropriately build the transition into Ravenholm and help the player learn and understand a bit about what the upcoming experience would be. This happens often. We build the level track, figure out what's working, and then design its prologue. We built the following set of rooms with that table setting in mind.
Give me the boom.
The brutality of the tools we provide the player seem to aid in setting the mood we were striving for, helping to shift the tone from the safety of Eli's lab to something darker and more frightening.
This is quite frightening. Yeah, I told myself I would stop. Give me the...
Contrived setups. There's a pretty obvious contrivance in a bunch of the gravity gun and physics object training. The player pulls a saw blade out of the wall with the gravity gun, and right on cue, a zombie stumbles around the corner, just begging to have a saw blade launched at it. Then the player crawls under a spinning blade trap to turn it off, and suddenly 3 zombies appear, taunting the player to switch the trap back on. We didn't have much time to iterate on this section, so we needed setups that worked for all players, not more open-ended ones that relied on them making the right move. While this kind of design has the potential to reduce players' creativity, in this case, we found that they didn't seem to mind that we forced their hand a little bit.
True.
Ravenholm's development. We began developing Ravenholm early in the production of Half-Life 2, so it went through more than one full development pass. The first version
about a
predated
swing.
the gravity gun, with
Oh my
gameplay
God.
focused on traditional zombie combat using guns and some of the physics traps. We even planned to showcase Ravenholm at E3 in 2002, but the game was ultimately unveiled a year later in 2003. By that point, we had invested heavily in Ravenholm's art, something which we generally
Let's save this game.
avoid until the gameplay is fully proven. So once we went back
Wow,
to Ravenholm
guys.
with the gravity gun
Tiger
mechanic in
Enjoyer.
mind, we
Whoever
were
else is
working with
here.
a lot of pre-existing level
Guys.
geometry that had been designed.
Thank you so much for being part of this first ever live stream of mine. You guys are the best. People say W stream. I say, oh my god. I say W-U. Okay. W-U. Yes, you. All right. Wait, hold on. Let's see what this live stream looks like now that I close the game. Hold on. I'm looking at myself. I'm saying W-U. W-U. Yes, you. Don't say. Man, this stream slap, bro. This stream slap. You think so? Well, guess what? This stream slap. Hold on. This stream slap? Well, no. I disagree. Hold on. You think this stream slap? I disagree. I think you slap. You. Yes, you. You slap. Okay? That's right. And yeah, guys, listen. I'll be seeing you on this next stream, okay? I'll be seeing you on the next ever. I'll be... Hold on. You guys like my border, by the way? Whatever. Okay, right. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'll be seeing y'all on the next stream. Yeah, I'll be seeing y'all on the next stream. Whenever that may be. I'm hoping tomorrow night, just because this was kind of fun. And yeah, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Peace. I'll see you on the next one, guys. I'll see you on the next one.